Alex mal für den Markus, ihr hört mich jetzt, ne? Es ist soweit. Wir haben endlich wieder Live-Sport. Wir haben Live-Extremsport und wir freuen uns sehr auf die deutschen Meisterschaften der STIHL TIMBERSPORTS. Ziemlich genau 2 Jahre ist es her, dass wir diesen Titel vor Publikum vor allem vergeben konnten und wir freuen uns unfassbar, dass wir tatsächlich auch heute Zuschauer bei uns haben. Und zwar nicht nur hier im Amphitheater in Gelsenkirchen, sondern eben auch ganz, ganz viele draußen an den verschiedenen Bildschirmen oder auch an den Rechnern, Laptops und natürlich auch den Tablets, wo auch immer ihr uns zuschaut. Herzlich willkommen zu unserer Live-Übertragung. Wir freuen uns sehr, dass ihr dabei seid. Und wenn ich von wir spreche, dann freue ich mich auch sehr darüber, dass ich mit Guido Hüsken, unserem absoluten Fachmann an dem Mikrofon dieser Sportart, zusammenarbeiten darf. Guido, und ich glaube, deine Vorfreude auf diese Veranstaltung heute ist auch kaum zu messen, oder?
Absolut. Also es ist tatsächlich so, dass es einfach ein tolles Bild ist. Erstmal die 10 Athleten hinter der Bühne, vor der Bühne, gerade kurz geschaut und Zuschauer hier endlich wieder. Ich glaube, das geht in vielen Sportarten gerade so, dass das so ganz was anderes ist. Ja? Dieses Kribbeln kommt einfach. Ja. Man hat auch als Kommentator, Moderator eine ganz andere Spannung. Ich freue mich riesig, dass es jetzt gleich losgeht. Wir können, glaube ich, tollen Sport erwarten. Wir haben mit Danimar einen Athleten, der seit 2019 nicht mehr verloren hat, aber viele dahinter, die sicherlich genau daran kratzen wollen jetzt. Also Danimar hat die Chance, das Triple zu holen, 3-mal Meister zu werden und das Ganze hier in Gelsenkirchen vor Publikum. Und wir haben uns Gelsenkirchen mal angeschaut und Gelsenkirchen ist eben nicht nur Ruhrpott und Pommes, Schranke und Schalke, sondern viel, viel mehr.
Hey everybody, my name is Troy Mannering and I'd like to also welcome you to the amphitheater on the Rhein-Herne-Kanal in Nordstern Park in Gelsenkirchen, otherwise known as the North Star Park. And we are piggybacking off the German commentary, so if you're joining us for the English side on Twitch or DAZN, thank you for tuning in to the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS German Championship 2021. Should be a good one. Lots of great athletes, including that man right there, Danimar, vying for the top spot. But as you heard, if you did understand, this man hasn't lost one of these competitions since 2019. So he has a target on his back, and there's good reason for it. He is a top-notch athlete. As I said, we'll be piggybacking off the pictures from the German feed, but you'll get to hear me if you're tuning into the English all the way along. And again, thanks for tuning in to our show here from Gelsenkirchen in Germany. And again, a big greeting to all those folks out there on Twitch, as well as the English feed on DAZN. This is the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS German Championship 2021. Who will rule the roost? Hang tight. We're going to find out shortly with our first event coming up not too long from now.
Ja, und das Gute an diesem Film ist, wir haben 2 gute Nachrichten. Das eine ist, Danny Martin hat nicht die ganze Stadt zerlegt, sondern er hat ein bisschen was übrig gelassen. Und die zweite gute Nachricht ist, er ist hochmotiviert, denn du hast es schon gesagt, er ist seit 2019 ungeschlagen auf nationaler Ebene. Und er hat mir vorhin gesagt, er verspürt irgendwie so gar keinen Druck. Er hat eher große Leidenschaft. Ne?
Er war extrem locker hinter der Bühne, kann man sagen. Robert Ebner, ja, leicht angeschlagen gewesen in den vergangenen Monaten. Man weiß nicht genau, wo er steht. Ist natürlich immer so der große große Konkurrent. Was Lars macht, ist natürlich auch so die Frage. Also es gibt da ein paar dahinter, die der Danny schon fürchten muss. Also muss schon liefern heute.
Das auf jeden Fall. Aber wir freuen uns, wie gesagt, vor allem darüber, dass hier wieder Zuschauer dabei sein können in diesem wunderschönen Ambiente im Amphitheater in Gelsenkirchen. Und wenn Sie sich vielleicht auch fragen oder ihr euch fragt, wie ist das denn mit dem Hygienekonzept? Also wir alle von der Crew, vom Team, aber natürlich auch die Sportler sind alle mehrfach getestet und dürfen uns deshalb auch mit etwas weniger Abstand aufhalten. Aber auch alle Zuschauer mussten hier mit Testausweis, mit Testnachweis die Arena betreten. Also hier ist wirklich alles bestens gelöst. Und ja, was hier oben passiert und was bei den Zuschauern passiert, das ist das eine. Aber das Entscheidende, das passiert natürlich auf der Bühne. Und damit wir richtig nah dran sind, haben wir auch dort unten jemanden stehen. Und zwar unseren Field Reporter, wie man so schön neudeutsch sagt, unseren Bühnenmoderator Tobias Witton.
Hallo Gelsenkirchen! Was für eine Stimmung hier im Amphitheater Gelsenkirchen. Und damit herzlich willkommen zu STIHL TIMBERSPORTS, Deutschen Meisterschaft 2021! Yeah, ihr habt's richtig drauf und damit begrüßen wir also die gesamte Sportwelt von The Zone. Ich möchte euch noch einmal fragen, liebes Publikum, habt ihr Bock auf TIMBERSPORTS? Ja, Wahnsinn! Ich freue mich riesig, dass ihr da seid zu unserer ersten Live-Veranstaltung, zu dem wichtigsten Turnier zur Deutschen Meisterschaft von STIHL TIMBERSPORTS und damit auch zur Quali für die Weltmeisterschaft. Ihr habt die Sportler gerade schon kurz gesehen, aber jetzt werfen wir nochmal ganz entspannt einen Blick auf unsere Sportler. Richtet ruhig den Blick auf die Leinwand. Unter anderem.
All right, here we go. We're going to meet our athletes right now. Thomas Hofbauer, 7th place at the German Pro Cup in 2019. Second appearance at a National Pro Championship. Was talking to him earlier. He is excited about today, and he was telling me the wood is good.
Mit zu den jüngsten Teilnehmern heute mit 32 Jahren und hat damals auch schon bei den Rookies gezeigt, was er drauf hat.
Die besten 10 Athleten, jetzt sind wir wieder zu hören, sind also am Start und sie haben sich qualifiziert in 2 Wettkämpfen und in dieser Reihenfolge treten sie heute quasi an. Thomas Hofbauer, ja, das war nicht so seine Saison bisher, aber wir sehen es, er war auch schon mal 7. bei den deutschen Meisterschaften und mit seiner zweiten Teilnahme will er damit sicher noch ein bisschen was nach oben drauf packen. Ne?
Sicherlich, wird motiviert sein, aber für ihn...
All right, there we see Robert Ebner. The 36-year-old has been injured for most of this season, been doing his best to get back into shape for this competition. You can see he is the 6-time German champion. He has been in many international competitions, so he might be one to watch today if he is feeling good. Then we have Andreas Auenhammer. What a name. This guy is great. He's a big boy, 38 years old, 190 centimeters tall, 100 kilograms, plenty of power, and he also said the wood is very good today. You can see he got 7th place at the German Ford Ranger Cup this year, and this is his first appearance at a national championship. Then we have the 56-year-old Ralph Dengler, one of the oldest competitors out there and still viable, and it's great to see him out there. Makes me feel good about being in my 50s. Maybe I can get out there at some point and compete with these guys. Not. 4th place at the German Championships in 2005 and 2013. Then we got one of the bigger boys, Christoph Lang. Very strong competitor here. 4th place at the Ford Transit Cup in 2021. His pro debut is at the was at the Cup in 2020. He got 7th place. So for a guy jumping from the rookies into the pros, that's not too bad at all. Then our next competitor coming up, Stefan Graf. 181 centimeters tall, 93 kilograms. Not one of the biggest competitors out there, but in 2013 he got 6th place at the German Championship, and he has been busy with this discipline or this sport since 2007. So he hasn't been around a long time, but he's definitely made strides. And then one of my favorites, 56 years of age, Stefan Stark, meaning strong, and that is absolutely the case. 3 times 3rd place at the German Championships in 2012, 2011, 2010, a consistent performer, and I'll tell you what, one of those guys to keep us all young at heart. Fantastic. Then we are going to step into our top 3 athletes that are here in the German ranking overall.
Also da sind wir mal sehr gespannt, was Stefan Stark heute da eventuell gerade auch mit seiner Erfahrung einbringen kann. Aber das waren jetzt ja in Anführungszeichen nur die Plätze 10 bis 4 aus den Vorwettkämpfen. Und jetzt wollen wir uns mal die Athleten anschauen, die wir eben bei den 2 Qualifikationswettkämpfen noch weiter vorne erleben durften.
All right, next up we have
Deutsche Meisterschaft, klar, das nehmen wir auf jeden Fall mit, ist fast direkt voraus. Und wenn es wieder mit Zuschauern ist, werden, denke ich mal, auch viele aus meinem Umfeld dann dabei sein.
Third place at the Ford Transit Cup 2021, fourth place at the Ford Ranger Cup 2021, fifth place at the German Championship back in 2015. He's got some experience, and he could very well be a competitor and a contender for the top spot today. He is currently sitting in third place in the overall standings in the German rankings.
Kommt tatsächlich aus Beuchen, nicht weit weg hier. Katzensprung, kann er mit dem Rad kommen eigentlich.
Ja, hat er heute aber nicht gemacht. Er ist gut vorbereitet hier angekommen, ohne sich auf dem Rad aufzuwärmen. Ja, also er momentan bei den Qualifizierten mit den drittbesten Vorleistungen, aber es gibt noch 2, die besser sind. Und hier kommt der nächste.
Next up, number 2 in the ranking, Lars Seibert.
Deutsche Meisterschaft dieses Jahr, ich habe den anderen genug Zeit gelassen, dieses Jahr geht's voran. Man muss mit allem rechnen, es kann immer was sein. Robert Ebner, Danny Maar, es sind aber auch andere, die nachziehen, wie der Christoph ist neu dabei, dieses Jahr ist ein starker Mann.
Lars Seibert, das war mal eine Ansage. Ne? Ich habe den anderen genug Zeit gelassen, jetzt bin ich aber mal dran. Und das ist auch so. Also den sieht man immer mal irgendwie auf dem Podium und bei den deutschen Meisterschaften hat es aber noch nie fürs Podium gereicht.
Championships back in 2019 and third place at the German Championships in 2020. So he is definitely up among the top competitors to be possibly on the podium today. It's so hard to say, and he did say in his interview there are so many guys you have to keep an eye on, Robert Ebner being one of them, and any number of these guys can really have a top day today. And with a couple of the guys earlier on saying the wood is good, we may see a couple of records, at least personal best, fall through the wayside today. Let's hope that happens, because we always like to see personal best going down for the count. Then of course we have the reigning champ, Danny.
Ziel für die deutsche Meisterschaft ist, dass ich meine Leistung anknüpfen kann, wie letztes Jahr und vorletztes Jahr. Ich bin ja Titelverteidiger und wird nicht einfach, denke ich.
German champion 19 and 20, 9th place at the World Championship in 19, 6th place at the European Trophy in 19. He's been steadily climbing the ladder. He is the top German athlete at the moment, but like many have said, there are a lot of guys chomping at the bit to take over that top spot on the step today, and that's the question, who will be able to move up to that top spot when we finally get into the sport?
Einer, der auch die Latte hochlegt. Und ich glaube, wir lehnen uns nicht zu weit aus dem Fenster, wenn wir sagen, wenn er heute alles zusammenbringt, dann ist er eigentlich fast nicht zu schlagen. Ja, so dominant in den letzten Wettkämpfen war wirklich beeindruckend. Und das, obwohl er, wie wir alle, einen Freund vermisst.
Ja, das ist so, denn auch viele Timbersports-Freunde der vergangenen Jahre, die wissen, da ist einer, der fehlt in dieser Liste, die wir Ihnen gerade eben und euch gerade vorgestellt haben. Denn er hat im Februar einen tragischen Unfall leider nicht überlebt.
And here we go, world record holder Dirk Brown, 5.20 seconds to cut 3 cookies.
Der hat die Timbersport Series groß gemacht. Ich denke mal in ganz Europa. Wer Timbersport kennt, kennt auch den Dirk Braun.
Weltrekord wollte ich schneiden, das war immer mein Ziel schon seit Jahren. Und das jetzt hier bei der DM zu machen, natürlich so grandios, kann man eigentlich gar nicht besser schreiben, das Buch. Und bin natürlich super glücklich.
8-fache deutsche Meister der STIHL Timbersport Series, Dirk Braun.
See the concentration and focus from Dirk.
Und ich sage immer so, Zweifler gewinnen nie und Gewinner zweifeln nie.
Bruder, bester Freund, in manchen Sachen sogar Vater, also ich habe sehr, sehr viel Dirk zu verdanken.
Er hat mir so viel beigebracht, so viel weitergeholfen. Er war in jeder Hinsicht immer da.
Ja, um Dirk Braun zu gedenken, liebes Publikum in Gelsenkirchen, möchten wir gerne eine Schweigeminute abhalten und ich darf euch bitten, einmal sich von dem Platz zu erheben. Dankeschön.
Ja, diese Bilder sprechen für sich. Robert Ebner, der nochmal ganz tief durchschnauft. Da fehlt ein Typ, ein Sportler, ein Mensch.
Ja, keine Frage. Ohne Dirk Braun wäre Timbersports, Danny hat es ja auch gerade gesagt, in Europa nicht das, was es heute ist. Ich glaube, das kann man nur unterstreichen. Er ist einer, ich weiß, du merkst es vielleicht auch, ich habe ein bisschen Kloß im Hals.
Ja, alle.
Kenne ihn schon sehr lange und er war einer, der halt auch immer, ja, wie soll ich sagen, der auch privat immer ein Ohr hatte. Wird fehlen. Mach du weiter.
Ja, ich merke schon. Mache ich gerne. Und das ist völlig nachvollziehbar. Es geht uns allen sehr nah. Und wie du schon gesagt hast, er war jemand, der nahbar war, der auch seine Meinung hatte und der aber auch immer wieder für diesen Sport gestanden hat und ihn uns auch immer wieder erklärt hat. Also auch uns, die wir ihn nicht leiblich betreiben konnten oder betreiben werden. Und er hat uns auch dieses Wettkampfformat immer wieder nahegebracht, was jetzt auch bei den deutschen Meisterschaften gilt. Und das wollen wir für euch auch tun. Wir zeigen also mal, wie das Ganze funktioniert heute.
All right, we're going to check out the competition format here. It is an individual competition format, and we're starting off with 10 athletes, and here we go.
Runde 1. Und es gibt
so round 1, we're going to actually have 10 athletes here, and there'll be 3 disciplines in round 1, the underhand chop, then the stock saw, and the standing block chop. Points will be gathered up through these first 3 disciplines to create an overall ranking, at which point the top 8 athletes will move on to round 2. We'll lose, in this case, 4 athletes there on the list, but actually losing 2 athletes. And then we move on to the second round with the single buck and the springboard. And these are 2 disciplines that require a little bit of talent and skill. In the second round, more points will be added for the top athletes. And again, we will eliminate 2 athletes from the list and move on to round 3 with 6 remaining athletes, which is the hot saw. That's the discipline for all you gas heads out there. And before we get things going with our first round, we're going to tell you a little bit about the tools and the disciplines. There you see how we get through this set of disciplines in these 3 rounds.
Der deutsche Meister bei den STIHL Timbersports 2021 und wer darf zur WM reisen? Der Axt.
The axes used in timber sports definitely can't be bought at your local hardware store. Made from special steel, the blade is hand-sanded with an angle of 13 to 16 degrees.
Typical hardware store.
It's custom built and carefully adjusted for each competition.
Very sharp.
The weight is around 3 kilos, and it's about 80 centimeters long.
These axes
so sharp
are incredibly expensive as well, costing up to 3,000 euros. They weigh about 8 kilos or 5 kilos and about 80 centimeters long from end of the handle to the end of the axe. During the underhand chop, the object is to cut through a block of wood from both sides. It's 32 centimeters around in circumference, and the athletes must cut from both sides in order to make it a fair and clean cut. So here we see the list for our first heat in the first round. Thomas Hofbauer going up against Ralf Dengler. Andreas Auenhammer going up against Stefan Graf. Christoph Lang against Stefan Stark. Andreas Striever will go up against Lars Seibert. And Robert Ebner and Danny Martin, two of the top guys here, will go up against each other. Robert Ebner having a little bit of a disadvantage here, coming back from injury. Let's hope that he is fit and can really be mixed up in this competition to make it interesting. And there you can see the season's best and the world record for the underhand chop. The world record, by the way, is held by Australia's Braden Meyer. He got that in 2015 at the World Championships, and a 12:39 is definitely a very fast time. But like I said earlier on, some of these guys were saying that this wood is good today, so we may see some personal best fall, as we hope. We always like to see that happen, and we'll see how this pans out. There you can see the personal best from our athletes at the bottom of each of their information screens, and that'll give you an idea of where they stand in the overall compared to the Underhand Chop World Championship. And by the way, the national record in Germany is 19.44 seconds. So both of these guys got a little bit to catch up to that, but you know, stranger things have happened as we come into these competitions. The adrenaline starts to flow. The guys are starting to feel good. The wood may be good, and the conditions could be just right for a really nice result for both of these guys. Let's see.
Ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Thomas Hofbauer and stand A on the left-hand side, Ralf Dengler on stand B on the right-hand side, and both of them getting into the wood right away very quickly. Thomas Hofbauer with some nice big cuts there, slabbing out Ralf Dengler on the far side. He's also getting some nice pieces out of there. Let's see who comes around to the other side first. It's going to be Hofbauer, and he hopped around there unbelievably quick. He was so accurate with his feet. He got around there so fast. He may have himself a personal best today. Let's see. His personal best up to this point is 36.60, and he is just passing 33 now. Let's hope he can do it. He's done it. Oh, no! He had to take a couple more hits to get through, and I think he was actually through earlier than he thought. And I don't know what happened there, but he's got a 40.61. They may look back at that and go, well, I don't know. You kept hitting the thing, so the time's going to keep running. And Ralf Dengler with a 48.10 finishes it off. And Hofbauer not looking super satisfied there. I thought that separated at about the 35-second mark, but he kept hammering on it, so I really don't know what happened there. I'll have to give him a hard time over a beer later on. Alcohol-free, of course.
All right, both cuts are good.
All right, so it is official. Both cuts are deemed good, and a 40.14 is the time to beat, coming from Thomas Hofbauer at the moment. Ralf Dengler with a 47.68. So both of their times, or both of their best times, are well past in this case. And you can see Hofbauer's log, it seems to be split, but he just kept hitting and wanted to actually put it down on the floor. So I don't know. I think maybe that was just a little bit of a miscalculation on his side. As we move to our next heat up there with Andreas Auenhammer. He'll be on stand A, and Stefan Graf on stand B. Stefan Graf with a personal best time of 34.83. He needs a 41.4 for the lead here today. Andreas Auenhammer with a personal best of 43.92. So let's see if he can improve on that at all. All right, here come our next two athletes out onto the stage. Andreas Auenhammer there in the red jersey, Stefan Graf in the blue jersey moving over to the other side, and these guys will make sure that everything is absolutely tickety-boo on their stands there. You can see Andreas Auenhammer putting some cable ties around the stand just to make sure that those hooks that are in the log definitely don't slip out at all. They're usually pretty secure, but that's just a little added bonus for safety-wise. And that right there is a lube that the athletes will often put on the axe blade just before they make their first hit. And what that does is it offers a little bit more lubrication for the axe after the first hit to come out of the block quicker and more easily. You'll see sometimes that the axes will get stuck in there. Let's watch this one and see how it goes.
3, 2, 1, go!
All right away you could see Andreas Auenhammer getting in there nice and fast with those hits. He's starting to try and work that axe a little bit quicker. On the other side, Stefan Graf has taken a couple of big power strokes there, and both have now, no, they haven't moved over to the other side. They're still on the first side. You can see Stefan Graf, they're still having the big power hits. There's a big slap from Andreas Auenhammer as he gets into that block. And now you can see Andreas Auenhammer starting to pick up the pace, and then Stefan Graf comes around to the other side. Could we see a personal best by Auenhammer here? We can cross our fingers for him. He's got to get better than 43.92, and it looks like he's done it. He split the log. Oh, but that could cause problems as he pulled that axe up when the log was split. The judges will probably have a look at that, but if that stands, he will have a personal best at 46.6. Stefan Graf still working, passing the 54-second mark, so he stepped well past his personal best of 34.83. He'll be disappointed with that. And here come our judges. Yeah, and he's exactly looking at Andreas Auenhammer going, yeah, that was a questionable one there with the split log, but it looks like there's no flag on the play, so it might be safe. We got to wait for Dr. Jörg Kurzenberger, our head judge on stage, to give us a thumbs up.
Okay, both cuts are good.
Woo! He's safe. All right, so Andreas Auenhammer has himself a personal best. Good job for him. He'll be happy about that. And he even told me that the wood was feeling like he might drop a personal best today. So that's some confidence right there. And that's just knowing how the wood is feeling on those practice cuts earlier on. Now, these guys draw their wood by lotto, basically. So nobody is handed a piece of wood and said, here, this is what you're hitting. There are a selection of blocks, and they draw via lotto to make sure that they're safe. Now, that's the thing that I was talking about right there. Auenhammer actually got that axe caught and yanked up as he was trying to release the axe, and that separated the block, and that's what you saw Bart shaking his hands at. He was telling him, yeah, that was close call, but obviously he noticed that the block was split before he tried to yank the axe up. Now, if the block wasn't split when he tried to yank that axe up, he could have been penalized for having the block split by pulling the axe instead of cutting with it, and that means it would have been a DQ. But he's lucky, and he's got himself a personal best. All right, next up in underhand chop heat number 3, we have Christoph Lang and Stefan Stark. And you can see there, these two guys are not exactly comparable age-wise, size-wise, but Stefan Stark has a personal best of 29.78 seconds in this discipline. Unbelievable. And that is a fairly quick time. When you look at Christoph Lang's personal best time of 38.70, we should see improvement from him today as he has been training quite hard over the off-season to get to this point here. But I am really looking forward to seeing how Stefan Stark hits today.
1, go!
And both of these guys getting into it right away. Stefan Stark has such a lot of experience, and he really, I mean, his targeting with that axe is just fantastic. And you can see he is putting a lot of technique into it, not really taking the big power strokes from on high, but he is so accurate with his hits. Christoph Lang on the other side, he turned around almost at the same time that Stefan Stark did, so these guys are really close to each other, just passing the 32-second mark here. How quick does this go? And who is going to get through first? We're not going to see any personal bests here as we're passing the 40-second mark, and it's going to be Christoph Lang with a 42.63. Stefan Stark struggling on his block in these last few hits a little bit, and he finally gets through at a 49.78, and you can see he's clearly disappointed with that cut. So those were both pretty solid cuts there, but it's very often coming down to, and I was talking to the guys earlier about this earlier, what axes you're choosing. Sometimes some axes just don't react with the wood as well as others.
All right, both cuts are good.
So Christoph Lang with a 42.06 sits now in third place in the underhand chop with Stefan Stark. His 49.49 is down in fifth place with Stefan Graf. A 55.55 after final adjustment from the Competition Control Center is down in sixth place. For the moment, Thomas Hofbauer has the fastest time at 40.14 seconds. As we take a look at the replay here for both of these guys, a couple of big axe sticks right there. That means the axe got hooked into the wood, and when you have that axe stuck in there, it takes a lot of energy to pull it out, and there's the split from Christoph Lang. And you can see that was just got him winded right away. It's a long day. He's got to save some of that energy for the other disciplines coming up. As we take a look at the underhand chop standings so far, and there you can see Hofbauer with the top time and Auenhammer with the second position and a personal best, 44 hundredths of a second behind Hofbauer. So those two guys for the moment are in the top spot with 4 more athletes in 2 heats to come.
Andreas Striebe, Danny Martin und Robert Ebner stehen ja noch da, und das sind Jungs, da wird die Schlagzahl noch mal ein bisschen erhöht, das kann ich euch schon versprechen. Und die ersten beiden, die jetzt kommen, sind Andreas Striebe und Lars Seibert. Ihr seht die Bestzeiten da, 28,49, aber wir hatten auch schon andere mit 28er Bestzeiten. Und das kann natürlich auch am Holz liegen. Logischerweise, nicht jedes Holz ist gleich. Also wir können jetzt nicht immer hergehen und sagen,
Andreas Striebe and Lars Seibert, number 3 and 2 in the German standings. So these two guys really balanced against each other here, and this should be a great head-to-head heat. Both of them are right around the 28-second mark in personal best, with Lars Seibert, having a 28.55 and Andreas Striebe a 28.40. So they're really, really close in this discipline.
To your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Seibert auf der rechten Seite.
Look at that. Big slap came off for Andreas
35 Jahre
Striebe
alt. 120 Kilo
there. Lars Seibert in the green on the right-hand side of your screen now. Striebe quick to the other side, and he got that axe caught in there a couple of times, but that slab came out cleanly. Seibert starting to work that axe quicker. This is something I've noticed about Lars Seibert. He starts to get stronger as the event goes longer. It's crazy. And look at these two guys. And it's Seibert with a 29.06. It's not going to be a personal best, but he is really close. Oh, and Striebe struggling to get that one. Should be done now. Yep, there it goes with a 38.73, and that's going to be a disappointing result for him. It was close, though. It was very close, and Andreas Striebe had a couple of big hooks there on the other side of his block once he turned around, but both of them looked pretty good, and you could see in the background, one of our judges shaking his hand going, whew, that was something.
All right, both cuts are good.
All right, so far so good for all of these guys, and we have not had a DQ yet, so that is a very good thing with one more heat still to go, heat number 5 between Robert Ebner and Danny Martin. Danny Martin, the guy who hasn't been beaten since 2019, and Robert Ebner coming back from injury, but is a 6-time German champion. And you can see here a couple of big hits by Striebe, but it was Lars Seibert who broke that log first, and it was one final blow to make sure that those strands were separated. So yeah, he's not far off his personal best, only a couple hundredths of a second, but that puts him in good standing so far in first place, with Strive right behind him. Hofbauer and Auenhammer jump down to positions 3 and 4. So they are still in a safe position at the moment, as we're only going to be losing 2 of the athletes in this first round once we get through these first 3 disciplines. But this is just the first discipline, underhand chop. So yeah, let's check out our next heat here, and that is Robert Ebner against Danny Martin. So this is a discipline there Robert Ebner is very, very strong on, although he had a knee injury earlier on in the season. So it could be that that might be playing a little bit of a role here today. Danny Martin, on the other hand, has been strong for the last 2.5 years and improving.
Ready.
Let's see how these two guys get it on against each other.
To your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
And right away, Robert Ebner using that quick axe. You can see how fast he's working that axe. He'll be over to the other side very fast. Danny Martin on the other side, still working the backside of his block, and Robert Ebner is already over there, and he is motivated this year. Holy smokes, folks. Look at how fast he's getting through there. Danny Martin with some power strokes, but it's Robert Ebner first in this one with a 2018. So that means he moves to the top of the ranking in the underhand chop, and Danny Marr is still working to get through there, and he does it in a 28.91. And that is the head shake in the face of a man who knows he can do better at this discipline and just had a little bit of trouble getting through that block as fast. He knew he was under pressure from Robert Ebner right away. Danny Martin is no slouch in that discipline. He's a very strong axeman on the underhand chop, but this time he just wasn't quite as fast as Robert Ebner. And Robert Ebner, after being out of the competition scene for so long, and you can see that is the face of a serious competitor at the moment. He just wants to be on the top of the standings once again. And right now, he set himself in good stead with a 20.18, the fastest time in underhand chop today. Not his personal best, but not far off. And that will put him at the top, which means he'll get 12 points out of this discipline, moving into the next discipline, which is the stock saw. And you can see, I mean, right away you saw that Robert Ebner was swinging that axe fast. That typical Australian style, really quick hits with as much accuracy and power as possible, but not too much so you get that axe stuck in there. And Ebner absolutely stoked with the top time here. And we got one guy with a personal best in the mix, Auenhammer. Great job by him to step up a notch and improve his underhand chop. And so we now have a standing in the underhand chop with Robert Ebner, Danny Martin, Lars Seibert, and Andreas Strive at the top of the rankings in the top 4 positions. Thomas Hofbauer and Andreas Auenhammer in 5 and 6, and Christoph Lang and Ralf Dengler in 7 and 8. We should lose then the bottom 2, but hey, wait a minute, I'm jumping the gun. We still have 2 more disciplines to go before we move on to round 2, and that's stock saw and standing block chop. And you can see in the background behind our 2 commentators there that the stage crew doing a great job to really work and get that thing ready, stage ready. And here we have a side-by-side of Robert Ebner and Danny Martin, the 2 fastest guys. So you can see how quickly that axe from Robert Ebner is working. He doesn't take a really huge haymaker swing from way on high, but he had it working so fast that he got in there deep and quick, and he moved over to the other side about 3 strokes ahead of Danny Martin. Danny Martin taking some big, heavy strokes there, and Robert Ebner stepping through well ahead of Danny Martin. Danny Martin still trying to get through there. He has a couple of bouncy ones. It looks like he might even have a knot inside that block, which definitely causes problems for these guys from time to time. And you could see right at the end of that side-by-side, Danny Martin with a head shake, because he knows he could definitely do better. So just a moment now to take a look back at the rookies and the women's championship. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, women do participate in timber sports, and they are badass. And the rookies and the women are the future of the sport, and we're going to see a lot more of this as time goes by. The rookies are the guys that are going to be stepping into the next pro categories as we see our ladies and our rookies in the competitions here.
Springboard lief ganz gut, Stocksaw war dann ärgerlich, lief gut, aber Stocksaw war da nicht in meine Disziplin hinter, aber dadurch hat es mich dann weiter gepusht und ich wollte unbedingt weitermachen und nachher natürlich oben stehen, was mir auch geklappt hat, mit soliden Leistungen in den anderen 3 Disziplinen und ja, hat mich gefreut.
Aber jetzt verrate mir doch mal hier dem Publikum in Gelsenkirchen, wie wird man denn überhaupt Timbersports-Athlet? Das ist ja nicht so üblich.
Also am einfachsten geht es eigentlich mit Probetraining, bei uns im Trainingsschiff.
Der ist super ausgestattet mit allem Werkzeug, mit allem Holz, was man braucht, und wir haben gute Trainer da geht's dann, da wird man herangeführt an die Disziplinen, und ja, wenn man dann Leistungen zeigt und Lust hat, auch das weiterzumachen, dann wird man zu weiterführenden Trainings eingeladen und dann geht es irgendwann zu Trainingscamps, wo man dann ganz Wochenende da ist und ganz viel Holz hacken kann und ganz viel Spaß haben kann mit uns allen, und ja.
Und by the way, das ist jetzt nicht nur was für Herren, das ist auch was für Damen. Die deutsche Meisterin übrigens Nina Pokolski, viele Grüße gehen raus, du schaust bestimmt zu. Die Damen dürfen da genauso mitmachen bei dem Trainingscamp.
Ja, auf jeden Fall. Wir haben starke Damen auch, 3 Stück an der Zahl im Moment, und die freuen sich auch immer, wenn noch wer dazukommt, weil es wird dann immer noch größere Familie, sagen wir ja immer so schön, und ja, es macht auch immer mehr Spaß, wenn noch mehr Leute da sind und neue Leute da sind. Wir freuen uns über jeden Zuwachs.
Und wie geht's dir persönlich jetzt, wenn du die Pros hier auf der Bühne siehst? Kribbelst dir da so ein bisschen in den Pfoten?
Ja, natürlich kribbelt's da. Ich will natürlich auch irgendwann zu den Pros, am besten im nächsten Jahr, so ist der Plan. Und ja, sind auch alles, ich kenne sie alle ganz gut, und ja, es macht Spaß, denen zuzugucken, vor der Bühne und hinter der Bühne auch. Und ja, es kribbelt auf jeden Fall, man will immer nur Holz hacken.
Vielen Dank an Marcel Steinkemper, danke dir.
Danke auch.
Die STIHL MS
All right, let's take a look at the tools used in the stock saw. This is the STIHL
Motorsägenhandling der Athleten eingesetzt.
saw.
Der für die härtesten Arbeiten in der Forstwirtschaft ausgelegte Motor leistet 7,3
dealership around the world. There are no modifications made to this motor or the chain. It's taken care of by a certified steel technician for the competition beforehand. Every saw is monitored and checked to make sure that it's fair. And so it is really all about the athletes. Now what they'll have to do in this first round is cut 2 cookies off of the block. The cookies have to be complete. That means if the cookie is cut out or if the line is cut that you see there on the block, that means they risk a DQ. So accuracy, the right amount of pressure is super important in stock saw. And here we'll check out the heat list for the stock saw. Christoph Lang will go up against Stefan Graf, Thomas Hofbauer against Stefan Stark, Andreas Strieve against Ralf Dengler, Andreas Auenhammer will go up against Robert Ebner, and Danny Martin against Lars Seibert. These 2 guys have battled many times in the past in this discipline. And yeah, like I said, this isn't all about power. This is about technique. And there are a couple of different techniques that these guys use. We'll outline those as we go along there. And you can see the season's best and world record, by the way, is 9:14 for a stock saw. And the world record was actually just achieved by Pontus Sky of Sweden at the qualifier in Sweden in 2021 in Orsa. So there's our first heat lineup. Christoph Lang against Stefan Graf. And these 2 guys will be getting ready to cut 2 cookies off of that 32-centimeter block. And you can see a couple of quick marks there by Christoph Lang to make sure he's got his targeting set. a lot of things going on here. You'll see them put their hands on top of the wood later on, and that is a very important aspect. Both their hands have to be on top of the wood. All of their fingers have to be across the line that's set on top of the wood, and once the gun goes, only then can they move down to the saw. They'll start the saws before the competition and place them in these specially designed mats that are on the floor. Previously in competitions, this was years ago, they used to just put the saws on the floor and the saws would hop away on the guy. So they developed these rubber mats that were specifically designed to hold the saws in place while they were on and active, so these guys could have a fair chance to start right away.
To your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So Christoph Lang with a little skip there as he started to get into it, and it's really important not to apply too much pressure. Oh boy, Christoph Lang, a big problem on the upstroke, and you could see that he shook his head right away. He knew he had problems. And Stefan Graf with a 9.94, that is a personal best. And how close is that to the national record of 9.91? Unbelievable time from Stefan Graf, excuse me. Great job. And Christoph Lang, he cut out on the bottom, but he noticed the mistake. He went back down and recut that second cookie.
Your cut was good. Your cut was good too, and also a national record.
Oh! After the adjustment in the competition control, they've changed Stefan Graf's time to a 9.75, and that means he does now own the national record. Hey, that is fantastic, and it's another Stefan taking the national record. Stefan Stark owned it before, and now it belongs to Stefan Graf. And there you can see the cutout right there from Christoph Lang. Oh, man, that is just a bothersome little pop-out, but then he repositioned that saw and got that cut done. So that's very important to have two complete cookies. That's what I talked about earlier on. You got to make sure those cookies are complete as they hit the deck. But what a great job by Stefan Graf, and a new national record of 9.75. Now his personal best will also be adjusted because they had it at a 9.91, and now they've shifted it to, the new athletes are up this. So yeah, national record belongs to Stefan Graf. And next up we're going to see Thomas Hofbauer going up against Stefan Stark. Now Stefan Stark is the man who owned the national record prior to Stefan Graf in a 9.91. Let's see if he can take it back from Stefan Graf here. And there's going to be a lot of smiles on stage if that happens. But Thomas Hofbauer is looking confident as he comes out onto stage and sets up his markings on the blocks for targeting. And you can see those lines on there are all so important because they cannot cut over the line. If they cut over the line, it's a DQ. If they don't have two complete cookies, it's a DQ. So, saws are running. They'll make their position set, make sure everything is exactly how they like it, to make sure they get up quick. And here we go.
To your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Nice start by Thomas Hofbauer. Look at that. And that is one of those styles that I was talking about. Holy smokes, folks. He's going to have a quick one. He might even have a personal best. He does. 10.14 for Thomas Hofbauer and a 10.50 for Stefan Stark. Thomas Hofbauer with a personal best. That is a fantastic job. Let's see if all the cuts are good. Nice job. He is stoked about that. And you could tell when he came on stage, he had a big smile on his face and he was feeling good.
Okay, both cuts are good.
All right, so adjustments are made. 10.32 for Stefan Stark and a personal best of 10.05 for Thomas Hofbauer. Big congratulations to him. And again, love to see those personal bests. Now here is that style. Hofbauer holds the saw in the middle of the block and uses that as a fulcrum, and then really has a nice couple of clean cuts there. Not too much pressure, keeps that saw running, just the right amount of technique. Now here we see from Stefan Stark, he uses the whole saw and blade 3/4 of the way through, then adjusts and then starts moving the whole saw and blade again. And on the way back up, this is a really important cut here. You don't want to over pull on that saw and add too much pressure. And Stefan Stark, a clean and solid cut at 10.70. Excuse me, 10.32. So we've got a national record and a personal best in the top 2 positions in stock saw so far in discipline number 2 in round 1. Next heat coming out on to the stock saw stage will be Andreas STIHL and Ralf Dengler. And there you see the overall standings starting to shift around a little bit. Thomas Hofbauer at the top at the moment. Christoph Lang, Stefan Graf, and Stefan Stark in positions 2, 3, and 4. But there's a lot of athletes still to cut. All right, so there we see Andreas STIHL and Ralf Dengler. Ralf Dengler been around for a long time, competing since before 2005. And how quickly do those saws start? No problems at all for these STIHL MS661 saws.
Das wird jetzt nicht immer voll durchgedrückt, sondern das muss man dann auch um das Holz zu spüren. Mit welcher Drehzahl kann ich jetzt das meiste Holz arbeiten? Das sieht so einfach aus.
3, 2, 1, go!
Ooh, a little hop by STIHL. Dengler with the better start into the block, so he's going to have that first cookie on the floor just ahead of STIHL. But this is the all-important upcut, and it is Dengler. Huge personal best for both of these guys. A 10-2-0 for Dengler and a 10-8-2 for STIHL. Great job, and it looks like the wood is good today. So again, personal bests are starting to fall, and there will be adjustments from competition control. So I believe these times might even be faster after we get it all done. Yep, there we go. 10-0-1 for Dengler. That 10-8-2 holds for STIHL. So good job by both of these guys to knock down personal bests. And it was just a little hop by STIHL at the top that slowed him down in his first cut. But then he was real close on the upcut. He came in about just, I would say 30 hundredths of a second later. Great job by both of these guys to knock away some personal bests, and already we've got 4 records happening there, the national record and 3 personal bests, so that is fantastic to see. 2 more heats to go with Andreas Auenhammer and Robert Ebner, and then Danny Martin and Lars Seibert.
Jetzt Andreas Auenhammer und Robert Ebner. 10:45. Ich wage zu behaupten, das packt er. Das packt er heute, der Robert Ebner.
All right.
Seine persönliche Bestzeit.
So there we have Andreas Auenhammer going up against Robert Ebner. Many, many moons ago, I spoke with Robert Ebner how he liked the motor saw disciplines. In particular, he told me one time that he had a love-hate relationship, like many of the athletes do, with the motor saws, and especially the hot saw. But he's become so adept at this particular discipline, both the stock saw and hot saw, that it's become a love-love relationship. He loves his saw, and his saw loves him. So let's see if he can make that translate into a fast time today.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Whoa, Ebner fast onto that first cut. Thin to win for him as well. Auenhammer's got a thick first cookie, but he's made it thin on the second one. And Ebner comes through in a 9.95, and both of these guys are knocking down personal best as well. Fantastic. Oh, my goodness. So it is Robert Ebner with a 9.75. No, excuse me, it's been adjusted to a 9.54. So that means he has just taken that national record from Stefan Graf. And it is Andreas Auenhammer with a 10.53. And that's a personal best for him as well. Oh, wow. That is crazy. So we've got a new national record with Robert Ebner, really highly motivated today, doing a great job. And so far, he's had the top times in both disciplines, underhand chop and stock saw. And if he keeps going at this pace, he is going to walk away with this competition. But look at that first cookie from Ebner. Thin to win is what they say. He's got a fat one. That could be a chocolate chip chunk cookie on the second cut. But a great job by both of these guys. Auenhammer's first cookie was that chocolate chunk cookie, and the second one was nice and thin at an angle. But he had 2 complete cookies, and that's all that matters. He got them on the deck really fast. So personal best and a new national record. Wow. All right, so taking a look at the stock saw results there, Ebner with that fast time has 12 points, and if we do get a chance to look at the overall standings, that means he will move into the top spot with the 2 first places in fastest times there, 12 points each, 24 points. So well in the lead for now, but that doesn't mean it's over. He's got a lot of battling still to go because Danny Martin and Lars Seibert do not have their points yet from this heat, so that will also change things up a little bit in the overall standings when these 2 guys finally get their stock saw cookies on the deck. Let's see how they do. All right, so Danny Marr, Lars Seibert, Danny Marr in the German colors there, the black, gold, and red, and Lars Seibert wearing green, the money green. He wants to have the money. Show me the money, as Lars Seibert marks his log. And there you can see he was the bronze medalist at German Championships in 2020. Lars Seibert actually has a faster personal best time than Danny Martin, so Danny Martin will know this, and that'll be in the back of his mind as well as these 2 guys get ready to go head-to-head in stock saw heat number 5.
Ready! Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Both of them really nice start. You can see the 2 different styles with Lars Seibert taking that big angle on his saw blade, but it's going to be Danny Martin coming through first. Oh, and it's a 9.58 by Danny Martin. That's a personal best with the adjustment. Will that mean he moves ahead of Robert Ebner? It's only 0.04 of a second slower than Ebner, and we have seen what happens when the competition control gets in there and adjusts the time after everything is done. And he's done it. It's going to be a 9.46 for Danny Martin, and that means he has just taken the national record from Robert Ebner, who took it from Stefan Graf, who took it from Stefan Stark earlier. Oh my God, I can't even keep up with this. National records are dropping like flies out there, folks. It's crazy. And Lars Seibert with a personal best of 10.07. And the cuts are good, and it is official. Danny Martin with a new national record. Oh boy. That's going to change things up in the overall standings a little bit as well. Let's take a look back here. Danny Martin so quick to get on that first cut, right on the line. Look how accurate he is. He marked that line, and then he just pile-drived it. Not barely a swing on the downstroke to change to the upstroke, and he was through clean and fast. Look how stoked he is. Fantastic job. Unbelievable. That is just amazing. All right, so stock saw means Danny Martin moves up to the top there, taking those 12 points. Robert Ebner will drop down 1 notch and have 11 points. That'll still keep him in the lead in the overall. And Stefan Graf with a 10 points in the stock saw. That means if we look at the overall standings, Robert Ebner, Danny Martin are at the top, and there is Lars Seibert in 3rd place. Thomas Hofbauer in a solid 4th place at the moment, and Ralf Dengler in 5th, Andreas Stiehel in 6th. So the bottom 4 guys have one more discipline to try and catch up, and that is the standing block chop. And again, it is the top 8 that will move on to round 2. So we're going to lose 2 guys from the list after the standing block chop.
Also, liebe Freunde, ihr seid dabei bei einem fantastischen Event, und wir schauen uns nochmal die 2 schnellsten an. Und das ist ja das Top-Duell.
All right, let's take a look at this side-by-side from Robert Ebner and Danny Martin. Look at this, so quick, both of them. Watch the upswing, barely any transition at all, and boom. Holy smokes, folks, that was tight. That was so tight. And both of them absolutely pumped up by that one. Incredible.
Und du merkst auch an der Körpersprache auf der Bühne, dass sie dem anderen irgendwie was rüberschicken wollen. Das macht Spaß. Also das ist
well, how fast did Stocksaw just motor on past us here, folks? That was incredible. Super quick, and the stage you can see in the background there between our two commentators, Marcus and Guido, as being prepared for the standing block chop, and that is a fun one to watch. There are a few guys that are a little bit stronger at the standing block chop than others, and this is a tough one as well because you absolutely have to have the accuracy as well as the axe angle. We'll find out a little bit more about
zur
that.
dritten Disziplin des heutigen Tages, und die wollen wir natürlich auch wieder vorstellen, und das ist wieder eine Axtdisziplin.
Standing block chop.
So here we take a look at the standing block chop, and it simulates felling a tree traditionally from the ground. And you can see here these guys have to cut again from both sides of the block. And here it's really important to have good clean cuts and make sure that your angle is absolutely accurate. If you have a bad angle and that axe skips away on you, that can be really dangerous. And taking a look at our starting order, we've got Thomas Hofbauer going up against Christoph Lang, Andreas Auenhammer against Ralf Dengler, Andreas Striewe up against Stefan Stark, Stefan Graf against Robert Ebner, and Lars Seibert against Danny Martin.
Es muss sich aber auch alles mischen, denn jetzt ist die Disziplin, die die erste Runde beendet. Das heißt,
season's best so far, 1992, and a world record of 11:03 is held by the American Matt Kogar. He got that in Liverpool in 2018. Robert Ebner, by the way, holds the national record for this discipline, 15.46, and he also got that in Liverpool in 2018. So we could probably say Robert Ebner is the strong character on this one, but we'll take a look at how all of these times pan out. And as we keep a close eye on the competition and the overall standings, this particular discipline is the last opportunity for those guys in the bottom 4 positions to try and gain enough points to move up and be among the top 8 athletes to move on to round 2. All right, Thomas Hofbauer going up against Christoph Lang. You can see their personal bests are in the high 30s. So let's see. We've seen a personal best from Thomas Hofbauer already today in a cutting or a chopping discipline. Let's see if he can pull that out in, sorry, excuse me, he got it in the stock saw. Let's see if he can pull out a personal best in the standing block chop.
Christoph Lang im Moment auf der letzten Position.
As you can see, he's got a lot of chalk on the handle of that axe to make sure that he can keep a grip on it, so that because it's quite warm and humid here today. Beautiful scenery in the background, though. You can see the Rhein-Herne Canal in the background, and here we go with heat number 1 in standing block.
3, 2, 1.
ums Podium und will hier natürlich auch in dieser Disziplin.
A little bit of a wanky second cut there on the bottom, but as he gets into it, you can see Christoph Lang really going for it on the other side, getting deep, really twisting those hips, throwing the power in from that back leg and using that core just to get in there. Christoph Lang going deep. Thomas Hofbauer now moving to the other side, more or less at the same time as Christoph Lang. And these guys are just battling hard. Lang in the red, trying to get the power going. He needs to really hammer it. Hofbauer in the blue on the backside. And Lang's looking like he's got that one shaking and baking a little bit. And he does it in a 39.99 for standing block chop. And Hofbauer drops it in a 44.55. So no personal best for either of these guys here, but it looks like we got some fair cuts all around. And just a really quick view there of a knot that happens in those blocks from time to time. These guys run into them, and that just causes it to be tough to cut through. All right, so we have good cuts so far. Thomas Hofbauer with those points moves up into the top spot in the overall standings, but I'm not sure that will last very long, as this is the first heat in the standing block chop, and you can see these guys just really putting everything they've got into it. The first couple of cuts from Hofbauer, it looked like the first cut was good, and then that second cut was just a little bit of the tippy toe of the axe, and there you could see that knot. It didn't really affect his cutting too much, though, as Christoph Lang got through there in a 39.46. So he's going to be happy about that to get this one done and dusted and try and focus on moving on and stepping into the next round. And you can see our two scores right off the bat. And if we take a look at the overall standings, Christoph Lang with his 12 points so far. Now that's just so far. Sits in 4th place with Thomas Hofbauer sitting in the top spot with 27 points, but we still have quite a few heats to go in standing block chop, and that will shift things around in the overall standing. So we'll keep a close eye on that as we move along in the competition. Okay, Andreas Auenhammer up against Ralf Dengler. You can see the two personal bests there, vastly different. Let's see if Andreas Auenhammer has taken the time to really get this discipline locked and loaded for himself. He's the younger of the two men. Ralf Dengler, 52 years old, I believe, or maybe it was 49. I better not give him a wrong age. I'll double check that for you folks here. 56, excuse me. I made him a little bit younger. Can't remember all those numbers all the time. 56 years old, though, going up against a young man.
Ready.
Andreas
Stand to
Auenhammer
your timber.
at 32.
3, 2, 1, go.
So both of these guys getting in there deep. Auenhammer working that first side a little bit close to the belt, and it's going to be Dengler moving over to the other side about 1-2 strokes ahead of Auenhammer. Auenhammer, he's got the power, but he needs to step into that log a little bit more and get those cuts farther back. As you can see, he's cutting, like I said, a little bit too close to the belt, and Dengler looking like he's got that thing shaking on a string there. Will it be Dengler or Auenhammer? I think it's going to be Dengler, but Auenhammer's got some power coming through. Oh! And it's a personal best for Auenhammer by a bullet. 36-17 for him, and Ralf Dengler with a 40-26. And again, Auenhammer with a personal best. He's done a great job today so far. He's got himself a personal best in the underhand chop. He's got himself a personal best in stock saw. And now he's got himself a personal best in the standing block chop. So this is some major improvement for Andreas Auenhammer.
Both cuts are good.
There's some excitement. Can you imagine that? Going from a 51-10 to a 36-10. That's a big improvement for Andreas Auenhammer, so great job for him. Now, I thought it was going to be Dengler getting through there first, but Auenhammer managed to get it. And you can see here, it was about 1-2 strokes by Dengler before Auenhammer moved to the other side of his block. But yeah, he was cutting a little bit close to the belt, but like I said, you know, he had the power and he pushed through, and Dengler looks just wasted there as he is breathing heavy after swinging that axe for 39.98 seconds. I think I would be dead after 2 strokes. So Auenhammer with a personal best in the time to beat of 36.10. And looking at the overall standings, Thomas Hofbauer still on top, but Andreas Auenhammer has moved into 2nd place. Ralf Dengler in 3rd. And you can see Robert Ebner is solid first 2 disciplines. So yeah, he's still sitting there up in the top, but he still has to battle. And it's going to be, the next heat coming up is going to be Andreas Strieve going up against Stefan Stark.
Jetzt geht's erstmal ins dritte Heat.
All right, so standing block chop for these two gentlemen, and again, you can see there is that lube coming out for the first couple of hits to make sure that that axe does not get stuck, and that first bit of wood, and they can keep the action going and keep the momentum going. That's another thing that's very important in these disciplines. By chopping, you have to try and keep that momentum going, and every axe stick just ruins the momentum. And right away, Andreas STIHL gets a little bit of a stick going on, and Stefan Stark, he keeps that flow going, but STIHL is coming on strong. There's another stick, but look at how precise STIHL is with his cuts. Both of them moving over. Stefan Stark just one stroke ahead of STIHL. Just passing the 25-second mark here. Stark looking very good. STIHL on the other side also looking good. Oh, Stark is close to dropping it, and he does it in 32.28. STIHL at 35.17. So really good job for both of these guys. Andreas STIHL will get the top spot in the overall standings, having the fastest time, or the second fastest time in the standing block chop here today so far.
Okay, both cuts are good.
All right, so Stefan Stark with the time to beat at the moment of 32.12. Andreas STIHL with a very respectable 34.92, just a hair behind. And then Andreas Auenhammer with his personal best of 36.10. 6 in third place in the standing block chop results, and that will change things around in the overall standings. We'll take a look at that again, but you can see with that one picture before with Andreas STIHL how accurate his hits were. You can see how smooth each of those wedges in the block were. But here, Stefan Stark with a power blow right there and one final drive to block that top off, and a great job by the senior statesman of TIMBERSPORTS. All right, so taking a look at the standing block chop standings, Stefan Stark and Andreas STIHL, Andreas Auenhammer in 1, 2, and 3, Christoph Lang and Ralf Dengler 4 and 5, Thomas Hoffbauer in 6, and then the overall standings, Andreas STIHL moves up into the top spot, pushing everybody down a notch, but we still have 2 more heats to go. Next one up, Stefan Graf against Robert Ebner. Robert Ebner has clearly been spending a lot of time on his strength and fitness and training. We see it on Instagram with all of his work in the woods, and every bit of making sure that he is back in competition form. And we've seen that from the get-go today. Underhand chop, he got the top spot in stock saw. Ebner got second, so let's see how he can do in this particular discipline, because this is his discipline. He is the national record holder in standing block chop.
Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go.
And you can see again Robert Ebner starting with that quick axe. Stefan Graf also trying to keep up with Ebner. Great job by Ebner to move around to the other side quickly. 2 strokes behind is Stefan Graf, trying to play catch-up now as Robert Ebner is coming through. He's past that national record point, but he doesn't care at this point. He just wants to have the fastest time of the day, and he'll take it at 22.29, with Stefan Graf dropping it at 27.07, and a personal best for Graf, which is great.
Both cuts are good.
All right, so it's official. Those times are locked and loaded. 26.99 for Stefan Graf, and Robert Ebner with a 22.20. And by the way, those 2 are the top times in the standing block chop so far. And we'll take a look back here as the stage crew gets up there and does that ever so important job of quickly cleaning up all of that slough that comes from the cuts that these guys make to make sure that that stage is safe. We should always give them big props because they do a great job in no time flat. And taking a look at the slow-mo here, a bit of a stick there by Stefan Graf, I believe. But boy, I tell you, Robert Ebner with just a fantastic job to not give up any amount of space at all. You can see him grimacing with each hit there. big drives from Robert Ebner as the time runs in the background. There was no chance for either of these guys to get the national record, but Ebner, he was going for it as best he could. And that final drive, a 22-20 for Ebner, and he is highly motivated today. So standing block chop, Ebner and Graf in the top 2 positions, with Stefan Stark sitting in 3. And if we take a look at the overall standings, that is 2 wins so far for Robert Ebner. Stefan Graf sitting in 2nd and Danny Martin in 3rd. But we still have Danny Martin and Lars Seibert, 2 of the top TIMBERSPORT athletes in Germany at the moment. Positions 1 and 2, in fact, going head-to-head in this discipline. And yeah, there's motivated faces right there, as these 2 will be doing their level best to try and get faster than 22:20, which is the time to beat to make the top position in standing block chop. Lars Seibert was walking around the site with his little boy earlier today, so this is a family affair for all of these guys.
Athlete, ready!
Stand to your timber.
Top 2 athletes in
3,
German
2,
steel timber
1,
sports for the moment.
go!
Danny Martin, Lars Seibert getting right into it. Martin slabbing nicely as he's got some great accurate hits there, and he'll go over to the other side just about a stroke and a half, 2 strokes ahead of Lars Seibert. 15 seconds is gone and dusted now. Let's see who can get through. Will it be under 22? I don't think so. Not for either of these guys as they go past the 24-second mark. But Lars Seibert's got a personal best at 24:36, and Danny Martin drops it in a 26:96. So Danny Martin sits in 3rd place in standing block chop. Lars Seibert shifts himself into 2nd and takes a personal best home. But Robert Ebner will win the standing block chop, and that means he's going to have 2 12-point disciplines and 1 11-point discipline. That means 2 first place and a 2nd place in the first round. And there's Danny Martin showing a little bit of damage on that axe, so that I don't know how much that affected the cutting there. And Lars Seibert playing with the audience, asking for some screaming. Good job by both of these guys.
Cuts are good.
So Lars Seibert with a personal best, 23:99. And we'll get some slow-mo action here shortly, and then we'll take a look at the overall standings and how things are going to shift around moving into round 2. You can see Danny Martin, really beautiful cuts right there as he moves over to the other side. Might have been maybe 1 or 2 hits more than he could have done on the first side, but these guys all have a plan, and it's very tactical a lot of times for these guys. And Lars Seibert, yes, he knew it right away. He's got himself a good time. He beat the reigning German champion in the standing block chop, and he's got himself a personal best. So that is all in all a great day for Lars Seibert, who is sitting 2nd in the standing block chop. Now watch what happens in the overall standings here. Robert Ebner will definitely stay on top, but Danny Martin will move into 2nd place behind him, just 2 points behind, in fact. And there you go. And Lars Seibert moves down a notch into 3rd place. Stefan Graf holding on to 4th. Andreas Strieve, Thomas Hofbauer, Andreas Auenhammer, and Stefan Stark are the remaining guys in the top 8 that will move on to round 2. Unfortunately, Ralf Dengler and Christoph Lang will both be eliminated from competition in this first round here. And so far, we've seen quite a few personal bests go by the wayside, which is fantastic. And next up, we're going to have standing block chop. Single buck, excuse me. I've still got standing block chop above my up here, but single buck with assistance is coming up next.
Also da muss man vielleicht auch mal ganz kurz erwähnen, dass es natürlich auch immer ein bisschen mit der Holzbeschaffenheit zu tun hat, aber darauf würde ich es nicht einfach jetzt nur zurückschieben, sondern die Athleten, du hast es schon gesagt, sind einfach wirklich top vorbereitet, haben die Zeit genutzt und viel trainiert, und wir schauen uns nochmal die 2 stärksten Athleten in dieser Disziplin an.
Here we get to see the side-by-side with Robert Ebner and Lars Seibert. And you can see Robert Ebner, his axe speed is very fast. Lars Seibert throwing in the power, pushing off that back leg, but you can see the stance difference between these two as well. Robert Ebner, very wide stance, and for a tall man at 190 centimeters, he really can push off that back foot and throw a lot of pressure into it. Lars Seibert, on the other hand, is pushing off that back foot and using his core strength, but he's using his upper body more than he is his lower body, and he's not really getting the efficient power strokes that I think he should out of those hits, but still, he's fast at second place with a 23.99, but Robert Ebner, man, hard to take that man down today. As motivated as he is, a 22.20 for him in standing block chop, and he will definitely be moving on in top position to our next round and the single buck. Let's take a look here. So there are the different ranking positions in underhand chop, stock, stall, and now standing block chop, and you see how the overall ranking changes, and that means Ralf Dengler and Christoph Lang will both be eliminated from competition, and the top 8 guys, as you see on the left-hand side of your screen, will move on to round 2 for single buck and springboard.
Andreas Auernhammer auch. Dann erklären wir ganz kurz, dass das damit zu tun hat, dass dann eben jetzt in diesem Fall Stefan Stark, Ralf Dengler ausscheidet, dass dann eben die bisher Gesamtzeit aller 3 Disziplinen zusammengerechnet wird. Also bei 3 gleichstehenden Athleten dann über die Zeit zu entscheiden. Oje, das tut natürlich dann auch schon noch mal ein bisschen weh.
Zeigt auch ein bisschen was über das Niveau dieses Wettkampfs. Wir sind halt wirklich alle sehr, sehr eng beieinander. Auernhammer auf Rang 7, wenn ich das gerade gesehen habe. Also da darf man gratulieren bei seinem ersten großen Wettkampf. Respekt dafür schon jetzt. Und ich glaube, jetzt haben wir ein bisschen was zu erzählen, oder?
Ja, und zwar gehen wir mal ein bisschen in die Historie der STIHL TIMBERSPORTS. Wir schauen uns mal an, was sich so in den vergangenen Jahrzehnten alles ereignet hat in diesem Sport, der jetzt heute hier natürlich hochprofessionell daherkommt, aber der durchaus auch die eine oder andere amüsante Szene mit sich bringt.
Third woodsman who can cut down a tree more easily than most people can chop one up. When it really comes to tackling large lumps, you can't beat the men of the forestry companies. An axeman's gathering. Thomas losing the loss against it.
Also ich glaube, mit der Zigarette im
As they say, this is the original extreme sport, and now we're going to take a look at the single buck, otherwise known as the misery whip. This is a 2-meter-long cross-cut saw. Each of those teeth are precision laser cut and hand sharpened. They've got sweeper teeth and cutter teeth. They do the jobs that you absolutely know they do because of their names. The cutters cut, the sweepers sweep. Now this discipline will be with assistance, so you'll see another athlete out there with them on stage setting the block. Now they have to cut through a 32 centimeter block or 36 centimeter block to get one clean cookie, and you can see here it's about technique and keeping that flow going on that big long 2-meter saw.
Handzugsäge durch dieses Holz bewegen, müssen nur in Anführungszeichen einen Cookie schneiden, aber das eben komplett mit Körperkraft.
So the starting order for single buck with assistance, Stefan Stark will be going up against Andreas Auernhammer, Thomas Hoffbauer against Andreas Strieve, Stefan Graf against Lars Seibert, and Danny Martin against Robert Ebner. Now we're getting down to the wire. In round 2, the points go up. So each time these guys get a top score, they get more points for their overall standings. And this is where things can change drastically in both the single buck and, above all, in the springboard. That is a very finicky discipline. But our first heat going up here in the single buck, Stefan Stark against Andreas Auenhammer. And this is the first national competition for Andreas Auenhammer, as we saw off the top of the show. He's already dropped a couple of personal bests, and he'll be looking to take another step in his bid for becoming one of the best German timber sport athletes here, going up against Stefan Stark. Look at that saw. That is just a beast. They call it the misery whip because what happens is if you lock that saw up during the cut with just a false little bit of the wrong angle, that thing will stop dead in its tracks. And if you've got too much pressure on it, you'll see it bow. And when it bows, you got to restart the saw and get that thing moving again, and that is just a energy drain. Now you can see there what's happening is they're spraying a lube in there to make sure that they have every advantage possible to get that saw moving and keep it moving. And then you'll also see the entire saw blade will get covered, and as the top part of that saw gets disappeared into the wood, you'll see their assistant out there put a wedge in the top. The wedge is there to keep that block from binding on the saw to make the action stay flowy, but it's still a possibility that that saw will stop. Here we go.
1, go!
All right, so Stefan Stark starting off with big, long strokes. Auenhammer opting for the shorter strokes, and that's not an efficient way to go, but if he can really work that saw back and forth quickly against Stark with the big, long strokes, he might have a chance there, but it's going to be Stefan Stark with a 19.12, a great job. Andreas Auenhammer with a personal best, 22. That's a good showing for Auenhammer, and another personal best drops today, but Stefan Stark with a faster time in this one. Good job by both of these athletes to step into this competition and really go for it. All right, so single buck, the first scores are already in, and these guys are very careful with these saws. They don't want to make sure that these things do not get damaged at all, as it is an expensive piece of equipment costing upwards of 1,500 euros, and then of course the maintenance costs and everything. So Stefan Stark with an 18.73 with adjustment, and oh, even better, Andreas Auenhammer with a 21.74, so his personal best just got better through timing and additional control. You can see here, look how deep Stefan Stark is in his knees, really using that entire saw. The whole saw disappears into the block there at the middle part anyway, and then that final little cut. And the difference there, you can see Auenhammer not really using the entire length of the saw. So once he gets the real style down, the real efficiency of his cuts down, then that saw will become his friend, you know, and he's just using that power and those quick cuts to try and almost turn it into a motor saw as he cuts through there. But a great job by Auenhammer to come through at a 21.74. And again, any improvement is a good thing in timber sports. And as we take a look at the overall standings there, Auenhammer moves up into 4th place with Stefan Stark taking 2nd place. But those will change as time goes by, unless of course the other guys just have atrocious times in the single buck. Next up, Thomas Hofbauer up against Andreas Strive. Pretty close, both of these guys, around 14.5, 15 seconds. And there you can see they have these flip-flop or you call them in German Badelatschen, so slippers that they actually put over top of their shoes. The shoes are spiked underneath, so they're almost like a discus or a shot put shoe. They have spikes on the bottom in order to offer these guys as much traction on that wooden floor as possible. That's going to help them get every ounce of their power into these cuts. How sharp that saw is unbelievable. So they'll set that saw in position, and then our judges will check with a specifically designed tool to make sure that both of these saws are at the same depth before the actual cutting of competition happens.
wieder. Er erzählt
Thomas
sogar,
Hofbauer on the left-hand side of your screen. Andreas Strive with the orange and blue jersey on the right-hand
mit
side.
ganz viel Training und Erfahrung. Das Gleitmittel, was da aufgesprüht wird, da gibt es Assistenz. Das macht in aller Regel einer der anderen Athleten.
Make sure you don't get any of that on your hands and that handle before you start this competition. That would be disastrous.
Ihr seht, auch mit Maske, weil hier können wir den Mindestabstand von 1,5 Metern bei dieser Disziplin nicht einhalten.
So check the stance on both these guys and we'll try and compare their two styles.
Ready. Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Links, Strive auf der rechten
Hofbauer on the left-hand side, Strive on the right, and you can see Strive really trying to use that entire saw. Both of these guys stepping off that back leg. Hofbauer also doing a great job using the entire length of the saw. It's going to be close between these two guys, and it's going to be Hofbauer with a 17.03 and Strive with a 16.87. I thought Hofbauer won that one, but it was Strive that actually dropped the cookie first. We'll have to check with competition control as they'll readjust the timing and stuff, but that was a great heat between those two guys, under 20 seconds. All right, so let's see.
Both guys are good.
Ranking on jetzt.
Okay, Andreas Strive with definitely the faster time after adjustment of 16.41. Thomas Hofbauer with a 16.72. Stefan Stark's 18.73 has him in third, and Andreas Auenhammer 21.74 in his personal best in fourth place. At the moment, you can see here, just using the entire saw to really cut through that block as efficiently as possible. Great job by both of these guys, and there goes the wedge at the top to prevent any binding on the saw. And so far, we've seen some really great technique in the single buck. Good job all around. So Strive and Hofbauer atop the single buck rankings for the moment. Stark and Auenhammer in the second or third and fourth positions there. Still great to see Auenhammer with a personal best in his first national competition. And there we see the overall standing. Strive moves up into the top spot, pushing Ebner, Hofbauer, and Martin down into 2, 3, and 4 positions. And our next heat in the blocks, Stefan Graf against Lars Seibert.
Ein bisschen höher einzuordnen sind, was das Niveau angeht. Steffen Graf, toller Wettkampf von ihm, auch auf einem Niveau wie lange nicht mehr. Steffen Graf mit 44 Jahren hat auch schon viel erlebt, viel gesehen. 3. Platz beim Ford Ranger Cup in diesem Jahr. Das war eigentlich so seit langem mal wieder seine wirklich beste Leistung, die er da geliefert hat.
Stefan Graf, Lars Seibert from heat number 3.
Da ist die
You can see how easily it just looks like it's cutting through butter there, but once this thing gets going, and if you angle it just wrong, those long teeth just get hooked in there, and it stops that saw dead in its tracks.
Das gelungen. Ist noch gar nicht so lange her. Da muss er ran jetzt. Wir haben gesehen, Lars Seibert Zweiter geworden am Standing Block, und wenn er mitkämpfen will, vielleicht sogar um den Titel, dann muss er hier ja eigentlich die Disziplin gewinnen. Das geht nicht anders. Also er muss eigentlich hier das Ding gewinnen, Lars Seibert. Vorbereitung. Die Hände schön trocken machen. Ja,
ready. Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1. Go!
Big wide stance for both of these guys. Lars Seibert on the other side of that stage on the right-hand side, stand B, right away with those big long strokes. This is a discipline where he is very strong. Stefan Graf is trying to catch up with him, but Lars Seibert has pace and the length of the saw, and that is a fantastic time. Lars Seibert with a 14.60, absolutely amazing. He takes over the top spot with a bullet. 1.81 seconds faster than Andreas Strive, who was in the heat before, and Stefan Graf with a 17.62 is sitting in 4th place in single buck. Remember, we're only taking the top 6 athletes from round 2 after single buck and springboard are completed into the final and third and final round, and that is the hot side.
Good.
14:37
All right, so 17.62 for Graf and a 14.37 for Seibert. Great job by both of these guys. And Seibert is the man to beat with one final heat coming up. Danny Martin going up against Robert Ebner. Two Titans going to be battling it out in this next heat.
Anstrengende, dass man eben mit voller Körperlichkeit.
He really is just so efficient on this discipline, using the entire saw, keeping the flow going. That last little push and cut was so nice by Seibert. Great job.
Sauber gearbeitet worden, aber auch hier die Kombination aus Präzision und Körperlichkeit. Das ist das, was ja, wie in fast allen Disziplinen
so far, single buck rankings, Lars Seibert will take over the top spot in the overall standings with that. You can see the top spot receives 16 points, and then second place will get 15 and 14 and 13 and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this heat goes with Danny Martin and Robert Ebner lining up against each other in single buck. Danny Martin quite strong in this discipline, but Robert Ebner, as I said, he's been out for a while, and this is a discipline that's going to put a lot of pressure on his knees and hips. So hopefully he is fully recovered down south and can really put everything that he needs to put into this discipline. And you can see from his earlier 3 top scores that he is highly motivated today to be back atop the German standings after being out and beaten by Danny Martin the last couple of years. And of course, coming back from injury, there's a lot to prove and make sure that he has his own headspace clear to be able to continue competing and really being effective. Danny Martin talking with his partner there as they get things set up. And Robert Ebner getting ready to draw back on his single buck. So far, we've had really, really clean heats from all of our competitors.
Es ist noch eine weitere Reise und die Hotzo ist ein Bitch. Also da haben wir schon so viel Drama erlebt, da kann der Robert auch ein Liedchen von singen. Blick nach vorne. Jetzt erstmal hier.
All right, Danny Martin right away into it, but Robert Ebner got that flow going quickly. He's halfway through that block and looking very good. Could he have a very solid time today? It looks like we might have a very good time from Robert Ebner. And he does do it in 12.78, the fast time of the day. Danny Martin in a 15.44, and Robert Ebner once again coming from out of nowhere, injury and all, to take the top time in the single buck. That motivation has him so hot to trot. It is crazy. Ebner fully focused on the day. I bet you dollars to donuts if he walks away with the gold medal after the action today, he will just burst out into a huge laughing smile. There can be nothing else, and that is a season best, by the way. And that right there, folks, is a fantastic result for Robert Ebner. Look at this, getting right into it. Deep into those cuts, very long strokes. Both of these guys using really long strokes. Robert Ebner just a hair taller than Danny Martin, and he used every ounce of that height to his advantage. 3 strokes difference between the two. That's not much. Danny Martin with third place right now in the single buck. Robert Ebner with the top spot. Lars Seibert just behind him in second place. So let's take a look at that single buck standings and how that's going to affect everything in the overall. And then you can see Ebner, Seibert, Martin, Strive, and in the overall Ebner, Martin, Seibert, and Strive. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Stefan Graf in there as well. Andreas Auenhammer down there in 8th place. So he's got his work cut out for him as we head towards the Springboard. But Ebner, man, 51 points. That is a solid day. 6 points ahead of second placed Danny Martin. So this is a battle that is coming down to the wire as we see the side-by-side. It's Seibert against Ebner in this case here. And Ebner just using every centimeter of that saw. Seibert 1.5 strokes behind Ebner, and Ebner barely breaking a smile. He is staying focused today.
Und hat es ja vorhin schon angedeutet, ne? Er ist nicht 100%ig fit, er macht das aber wett eben mit seiner unglaublichen Geschwindigkeit, die er heute hier an den Tag legt. Also das ist schon bewundernswert und Ich muss ganz ehrlich sagen, man soll natürlich jetzt noch nicht das Fell des Bären zerlegen. Im Gegenteil, wir haben ja noch eine Disziplin, bei der die Punkte verdoppelt werden. Und wenn du dir da ein DQ einhaust, weil du irgendwas falsch gemacht hast oder die Schiedsrichter sagen, nee, nicht korrekt, dann bist du aus der Disziplin raus. Oder wenn du einfach nicht das abrufen kannst, was du möchtest, dann sind 6 Punkte, ne, bei 3 Plätzen Unterschied, sofort auch wieder wettgemacht und dann ist das oben schon wieder ganz schnell anders gemischt. Ja, und ich würde sagen, wir schauen uns nochmal das Ranking an. Habe ich das richtig verstanden?
Wir haben noch einen Clip.
Ah, genau. Zum Ford Ranger Clip gehen wir, denn das ist natürlich
Viele Stimmen,
auch ganz wichtig
das
zu
ist nicht
erwähnen.
immer so leicht.
Ja, seht uns das bitte nach, aber wir sind natürlich auch hier mit einer so professionellen Veranstaltung am Start, weil uns ganz, ganz viele Partner unterstützen und das wollen wir natürlich auch gerne zeigen.
All right, upcoming competitions. You can see all of the stuff that we've done so far up until this point on video on demand. It's available. And coming up on the 28th of August, we'll have the Nordic Pro Championship from Sweden, and that will be via live stream 5th of September. The British Pro Championship from Telford in Britain, also via live stream, and the 11th of September, the Swiss Championship. 12th of September, the World Trophy European Qualifier, and then the 2nd of October, the Big Daddy, the Individual World Championship coming to you from Munich in Germany. And you can also check out data.stihl-timbersports.com for complete updates and where you can check the video on demand and its availability.
Sportliche Höhepunkte in diesem Jahr. Das sind die Weltmeisterschaften und wir haben es vorhin schon mal angedeutet, da ist das Qualifying in diesem Jahr etwas anders. Der deutsche Meister ist nicht automatisch qualifiziert. Es gibt 8 Europäer und 4 Überseeathleten, die in ein Ranking kommen und naja, wir sagen mal, nach dem, was wir jetzt heute hier gesehen haben, wird der deutsche Meister schon schwer zu vertreiben sein aus dieser Meisterschaft.
Die anderen Streams gesehen, also die Briten kommen, die Polen vor allen Dingen, die Schweden, die jungen Athleten, da mal anzuschauen, die anderen Streams, das ist super spannend, wo das Niveau der Deutschen dann auch einzuordnen ist, also kann ich nur empfehlen, aber das macht die Fans ja sowieso schon.
Aber wir sind uns eigentlich bisher ein fantastischer Wettkampf, der sich jetzt zuspitzt, denn ich glaube, das hat man eben auch gesehen, so ein bisschen nach der Singlebahn. Danny Martin, der ist angefressen. Also dem schmeckt das gar nicht, dass Robert Ebner heute bisher in den ersten 4 Disziplinen so ein, das darf man einfach mal sagen, Brett abliefert.
Genau, Brett ist jetzt das nächste Thema, Springboard.
Springboard.
Coming up next, the
Springboard simulates the traditional way of felling trees, climbing up over thick roots.
These guys
First, notches known as pockets are chopped into the log. 2 springboards are then anchored into these pockets. The athlete then climbs up to chop through a 27-centimeter thick block of wood in the fastest time possible.
A block at the top. This is a very finicky discipline because it can cause a lot of problems if you take too much time to set your pockets. And there you see our Springboard heats lineup. Stefan Stark, Andreas Auenhammer, Thomas Hofbauer, Andreas Strieve, Stefan Graf against Lars Seibert, Danny Martin against Robert Ebner. And again, Danny Martin, Robert Ebner going up against each other. Whew. That's going to be a tough last heat in heat number 4. In the meantime, Stefan Stark and Andreas Auenhammer will go against each other. Now, here they have a time limit. If they can't cut through that top block inside of that time limit, there will be a disqualification. I believe the time limit is 2 minutes or 2 minutes and 30. Don't quote me on that, folks, because I have memory problems. But this is a big deal. Now, Andreas Auenhammer, he doesn't have a personal best for this, so anything he gets here today, as long as he cuts through under the normal time, will be a personal best for him. Stefan Stark, on the other hand, has a personal best of 1:10.66. Key here is to set those pockets quickly and accurately so that you have your board at a good angle to be able to use the power of that back leg and your hips to push through. If your board is too flat, if it's sagging down at all, then you're using the power from your shoulders and arms, and you lose a lot of energy very quickly there. So this is going to be a key factor for these guys. So a little bit of a pause here on stage as they need to do some final checks on the, I think it's the battery pack for our head judge, Dr. Jörg Kurzenberger. Bart Janssen there might have to start this competition as the battery pack gets returned to Jörg. But both these guys are very well versed in making sure that all these judging criteria are really properly covered. And now the problem for the two guys on stage is that tension mounts as they wait for the start, and that adrenaline starts to take over a little bit, and yeah, it could cause problems in some cases. You can see Auenhammer's hands are probably already starting to sweat a little bit, nervous as he is going up against a man with a lot of experience. A perfect pocket is 4 hits and about a 30-degree angle on your board when you set it. Let's see if these guys can pace that one. Here we go.
Springboard side
1:10. Ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So a couple of skips there for Stefan Stark. Auenhammer still trying to find his pocket as well. And Stefan Stark doing a little bit of twist cleaning in there as he got a few extra hits in. And Stefan Stark is behind Auenhammer. Both of them have good boards, though. And they're both on their first board and setting their second pocket. And obviously, Auenhammer has been really training in this particular discipline. You can see, though, his board is starting to sag a little bit. And Stefan Stark has already got his second board in place and will climb up there. Auenhammer struggling to try and find a clean pocket for that second board. That's all important because he's got to be in a good position. He can see why it's so important. Stefan Stark comes down off of his board because he didn't feel confident up there, and Auenhammer is now up on top 52 seconds in, and so he can really start to work on that top block. Now he's got an okay board. It's at about 90 degrees, so as long as it doesn't start to sag too badly, he can use that board to his advantage. Stefan Stark now trying to set his second board in place as he's redone that pocket. But that confidence is taken away completely if that board starts to sag and you don't feel like you can step off the back end of the board. And then you start to shimmy forward and shuffle a little bit on the board. And that's what we're seeing Auenhammer do right now. He's not putting any pressure on that back leg, but he's got more or less 90 degrees. And he's going to cut deep on the first side. He's got to cut from both sides, like with all the chopping disciplines. But he's got to make sure that he cuts deep enough on the first side so that he doesn't spend too much time on the backside and that weird angle. And this is what I'm talking about, that weird angle on the backside. And you can see getting there is troublesome. He's getting to the 2-minute mark here. He's coming in close. So he's got to get it done in under 2 minutes 30. And he's getting there. He's coming close. Auenhammer is breathing heavy, though. This has been a long day for these guys with practice and everything, and there you go, 2:03.54, and a personal best for Auenhammer. Stefan Stark struggling. He's got 15 seconds now to get through there. I don't think he's going to do it, and that was by virtue of taking so much time to try and set that second pocket. It's a really troublesome hit for him here as he keeps looking at the time, but it's not going to happen for Stefan Stark, unfortunately, unless he can get a buttercut up at the top there, and there you go. Unfortunately for the master chopper, that is a DQ because of time allotted. And he's like, I want to keep going, but yeah, that's it for him. He's done. That is really unfortunate, and it all comes down to those pockets. Setting those pockets is such a key aspect of this particular discipline, and if they're not set exactly right, it's just going to cause problems from the get-go. The first pocket, yeah, it's important, but not nearly as important as getting that second pocket and a good board angle set. So critical. Watching these guys is making me breathless. It's unbelievable. So Andreas Auenhammer with a 2:03.35. That is a personal best for him. So, and unfortunately, out of time, DQ, time limit exceeded for Stefan Stark. So Auenhammer will score some points there. It's not going to be a super fast time if we compare it to some of the other times we'll see today, but he'll be happy with that. His first national championship, and among the guys in the second round. Now you can see there, the first board from Stefan Stark was quite good. He got in there and got up onto the second board, but then it started to sag on him. He didn't feel confident on it, so he came down right away and reset that pocket. And once he was on top, though, he was just so far behind, he just didn't have enough power left over because everything was coming from his shoulders. He had to step close to the tooth on that springboard in order to not slip down and really have the pressure in that pocket too high. Yeah, it was just a little bit too bad for Stefan Stark there, but nevertheless, a great job by both of these guys in a really, really, really difficult discipline. I can't even imagine. And there, the final blow from Auenhammer, and he's happy about that one. All right, so the overall standings. There we see the shift around. Not much change there as Stark with the DQ drops down into 8th place. And we've got Auenhammer in 4th place for the moment with 36 points. And you can see there our stage crew doing a great job, as always, to make sure that that stage is changed quickly and ready for the next heat. And especially with these springboard stands they have to set up. They are big beasts. You can see how heavy they are. The stands, the blocks, the logs, everything about them is just really ungainly and heavy. And getting them in position and making sure they're stable is such a critical thing here for these guys, not only because of the time, but also because of the safety aspects of it. And you just have to give kudos to these guys for doing such a great job to stand and set these in place and make sure they're secure in no time flat. So always a big shout out to our stage crew. It's like Formula One wheel changes and filling of the gas, but with TIMBERSPORTS.
Also das auch mal nur so nebenbei, das zeigt schon, dass die Bruder auch einen riesen Job macht heute.
Überlegen sich auch immer aktiv, wie können wir es optimieren, wie können wir es besser machen, haben da eigene Vorschläge. Das zum Beispiel ist jetzt auch wieder so eine Kreation, die sie da entwickelt haben, wo es dann immer weitergeht. Wo wir gesagt haben, hier Standing Block, das geht immer, das dauert halt einfach mal so ein bisschen lang. Ja, das ist für uns draußen als Zuschauer natürlich auch immer so eine Sache, wir wollen Action sehen. Und da bemühen wir uns natürlich auch immer, das irgendwie noch ein bisschen flüssiger, noch ein bisschen rhythmischer zu machen. Und da ist eben dieses neue Werkzeug, der neue Stand, Rahmen geboren worden. Und das geht jetzt wirklich ratzfatz. Die bringen das jetzt in Position. In der Bühne selber sind schon Verankerungspunkte passiert. Und jetzt kommt dann
Da kommt übrigens auch der neue die kennen ja immer, wie du das gesagt. Aber Stahlhülle ist unser neuer Partner mit Werkzeuge für die TIMBERSPORTS Series. Und da sind wir natürlich froh, dass wir Kooperation haben und vor allem auch einen Top-Partner haben, der uns hier mit hervorragendem Werkzeug zur Verfügung steht. Ja, also das ging jetzt richtig flott. Das heißt, wir werden auch in Kürze schon die nächste Paarung auf der Bühne sehen. Und wir haben es ja eben gesehen, gerade Springboard entscheidet sich immer noch mal.
All right, the next two guys coming out on stage. Thomas Hofbauer up against Andreas Strive. Hofbauer with a personal best of 131.96 and Strive with a personal best of 123.54.
Entweder es gibt einen Weg oder du machst einen. Deine Zeit ist jetzt. THW.
Ja, das THW auch schon seit vielen Jahren Partner und wir wissen spätestens seit der Flutkatastrophe in diesem Jahr, wie wichtig eben auch das freiwillige Engagement ist. Also wer sich da noch ehrenamtlich beteiligen möchte, ist herzlich eingeladen, das zu tun. Jetzt aber geht es erstmal ins zweite
Heat number 2 for Springboard. You can see that world record of 35.67. I don't know if that's going to be broken anytime soon. The national record of 45.60 is a good 10 seconds off pace from the world record, and that is held by Sterling Hart from Canada. He managed to get that in 2016 in Stuttgart. That is just a blisteringly fast time. I mean, it's hard to imagine getting anywhere close to that. Dirk Brown, God rest his soul, got the national record in 2007 in Oberstdorf, and that was a 45.60. By the way, Dirk Brown holds 4 of the 6 national records. So he holds the underhand chop national record, he holds the single buck national record, the springboard national record, and of course the hot saw world record and national record. So there is a legend that will truly be missed. You saw earlier on a moment of silence for Dirk Brown, who passed away earlier this year, and one of the absolute legends in the sport. If you ask anybody in the world of timber sports who Dirk Brown is, they know exactly who he is and absolutely what kind of man he was. All right, Hofbauer and Strive. Hofbauer on the left-hand side of your screen in the blue, Strive on the right in the orange and dark blue. And that was a quick pocket for Strive, who's up in 11 seconds to start setting his second pocket. Hofbauer taking a little bit more time to set his first pocket, wrestling that axe out of the block there, and starts to set his second pocket. Strive, though, looking very good as he's got his second pocket already set. How is that board, though? It's looking a little bit saggy. That might cause him problems, but he doesn't want to risk going back down and resetting it. Hofbauer, however, has an excellent second board. Look at that angle. That is near perfect. Now he just needs to trust in himself and get right on that back foot and start pushing off. Strive has a little bit of sag in his. You can see that is sagging down quite a lot. So that means he's going to be working close to the block. He's not going to be swinging from out far where Hofbauer is. And Hofbauer definitely has the advantage here. This is also a safety aspect too. If Strive's board slips out and he falls down with that axe in his hand, he is in big trouble, misses bubble. But Strive is not giving up. He's looking good. He'll shift body position now and start cutting from the backside. Will Hofbauer be able to catch up and do it? He's also moved to the backside here. He's got the advantage of power in that board, but Strive has a long lead on him, and it's coming closer. Strive, will he be able to do it? Looks like it's going to be one more drive. 2 more. Oh my God, he just doesn't have the power. It's so hard to watch, but Strive with a 132.47 and Hofbauer with a 133.35. He came so close to catching up to Strive, but the lead was just too big. But Hofbauer's second board was excellent. And look at these guys. These are fit guys. These are fit guys. And they are breathing heavy after that discipline. Mentally and physically, this is so strenuous. And you just have to shake your head. It's unbelievable what goes on up there on those boards and those blocks. It's amazing.
Ja, der ist auf jeden Fall einigermaßen zufrieden, der Thomas. Ist da nur 2 Sekunden über seiner persönlichen Bestzeit.
Bullcuts are good.
All right, so Hofbauer with a 133.21, Strive with a 132.39. That's real close between these two guys. And Springboard is well underway with 2 of 4 heats done and dusted. And Strive and Hofbauer are in positions 1 and 2 with Andreas Auenhammer in 3rd place. As we take a look here again at the quick pockets by Strive were great. but his second board was just a bit too saggy. And you can see here, there's one more hit by Strieber, I think, and that was when he tried to clean it out a bit. Then he put his board in place, and you can see here he was on top and he had a good lead, but his board was sagging so badly that he had to step towards the tooth of the springboard that's holding it in place on the wood so that he doesn't put too much pressure on the back end. And there you see that saggy board, and he's using not as much power off the back leg as he could. And Hofbauer, on the other hand, you can see his board started to sag a little bit, but he had such a good angle at the start, and he was really only 2 strokes behind Strieber, so he's going to be happy with that. That's a great job by both of those guys. So there you can see the springboard results so far. And let's check how that affects the overall standings here as they shift around. Ebner still on the top there with 51 points. That's going to be a hard one to catch. Strieber, though, at the moment moves into 2nd place, and Hofbauer is in 5th place. So he is close to being on the bubble. Remember, it's only the top 6 athletes that will move on to the hot saw after springboard is done. We have 2 more heats to go. Heat 3 with Stefan Graf and Lars Seibert, and Heat 4 with Danny Martin and Robert Ebner, the 2 legends going up against each other once again.
Sicherer man da oben steht, umso mehr Kraft kann man dann natürlich eben investieren in die Schläge, die dann oben ins Holz hineinkommen müssen. Ja, und wir wollen noch mal ein bisschen zeigen, wie wichtig Zuschauer in diesem Sport sind. Bei den STIHL Timbersports, es waren jetzt 2 Jahre Wettkämpfe, wenn es denn überhaupt welche gab, die wir eben ohne Zuschauer erleben mussten. Und wir wollen noch mal ein bisschen zeigen, wie sich das eben für die Sportler auch anfühlt, wenn Publikum dabei ist.
It comes down to mid-charging and change.
Battling hard on the standing block. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Australia or New Zealand? Oh my God, how close is this? And it's Australia!
The atmosphere last night in the team's relay was unreal.
That is their title of Team World Champion. 2 years in a row.
Oh, definitely. It'd be the noisiest crowd I've competed against.
Shane Jordan's already over there.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of getting goosebumps thinking about it right now.
The crowds here, they were just erupting.
You feel the energy of the crowd. The crowd was absolutely electric.
And it was so much noise and support.
Ja, doch, das pusht schon rum. Mein Fanclub ist auch da.
Very passionate about their country and, yeah, the competitors.
Yeah, it feels super.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
It's pretty awesome to compete in front of a crowd like this.
But he's not giving up. He's looking good.
Like such an adrenaline rush. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, a lot of fans, they make a lot of noise, and that's good for our spirit.
It's going to be the Czech Republic, and the crowd goes bananas.
Absolut extrem hier. Man hört's.
Ich durfte da sein. Viele Bilder aus Prag natürlich. Also ich kann dir sagen, das war, also da hast du da rumgeschaut. Ja, boah, ey, das ist brutal. Brutal. Also die Bilder bringen es ansatzweise rüber, wie das für ein Sportler sein muss, einfach so eine Atmosphäre zu sein. Wir haben in Gelsenkirchen den Anfang gemacht. Wir wollen wieder dahin.
Okay, heat number 3 between Stefan Graf and Lars Seibert. Both of these guys have really respectable times in this springboard. And again, it's all about setting that board. Now, Lars Seibert is a bigger boy than Stefan Graf. That's going to play a role, and that means Lars Seibert is going to be thinking about making sure he's got his pockets set absolutely correctly so there is zero sag in that board. He wants to make sure that that board is going to hold his weight so that he can use that power that he's got and cut that top block really properly. Now he's got some issues with the setup of his block over there, and they're just going to make sure that everything is fair for all considered. Okay, the support structure is right in the way of where he wants to set his first pocket. So the guys will take a second and just move that around to the other side, and then it'll be out of the way for him and completely fair. All right, so that support bar has been quickly repositioned, and Seibert will be much more pleased with that. That thing isn't in the way for his first cuts. And here we go.
Athletes, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
You can see for these first cuts as well that the guys choke up on the handle of the axe. You don't need a ton of power, you need accuracy, and that's the thing. The optimal situation is 4-hit pocket and Stefan Graf with a really nice quick pocket, and that board is in position well. Seibert gets his board in place, but his axe is stuck in the block up top, and now Graf is trying to get that second pocket set. It's taking him a lot longer to set that second pocket, but he wants to make sure it's absolutely correct. Now Seibert has his second pocket set. Let's see how it pulls that board into place. It looks like he's got a really good second board, and Lars Seibert gets up on top. He's gingerly checking the position of that board. We'll have to wait until we get an open camera position to see if there's any sag in there at all. And Stefan Graf is up there. Oh yeah, Seibert's got a bit of sag. Graf doesn't. He's got a nice angle on his board, so Graf is going to have the advantage as far as power, but Seibert is a big man with a lot of strength, and he's going to be depending on that strength from his upper body as that board sags even more, and that means he's stepping closer to the block to cut, and Graf is going to be coming on strong with better hits from behind and more power coming off that back foot, using his core strength to his advantage. And there you can see the perfect example as he's got his foot as far back as he trusts himself on that springboard, but he's got no sag at all. Seibert, a little bit of sag. It's not as bad as I thought it was, but he has already moved over to the other side, and there you see Seibert working on the backside on that really uncomfortable cut. Oh, but he's done it in 132.95. A good job by Lars Seibert with a wacky top board, and Stefan Graf now trying to get through. He should have 2-3 more drives to get it done. 1, 2, 3, and there we go in 146.60. He's not going to be happy with that time, but he didn't go over and get a DQ, so that's important for him. So Lars Seibert with his springboard of 132.78, and that is putting him in second place in springboard so far. Stefan Graf with a 146.33 sits in fourth place so far in springboard. And everything looks fair, so that will be locked in and official. Let's take a look back here. And there we see Lars Seibert setting his first pocket. He was quick with that first pocket, and that was a key factor for him to get up fairly quickly. You can see that board sags and locks in nicely. This is the second pocket from Stefan Graf. Now, he took a long time to set that one, but once he did, he had a pretty decent angle on there, and there didn't seem to be any sag at all, and that was a big thing for him. Now, he'll get up on top there, and you can watch here as he steps with his back foot out towards the back and can use that leg to his advantage. It didn't really work out for him 100% as though he wanted to, but you can see here with that position, he was getting good pushes off that back foot, but it was Seibert and his power, even standing in close to the block, was just too much for Stefan Graf today. So he has the second fastest time behind Andreas Strive. Not that far off pace either, 132.39 for Strive, and Lars Seibert with a 132.78, so only 39 hundredths of a second. And there's some relief from Stefan Graf right there as he just breathed out heavily. All right, so there you see our springboard ranking, and we'll take a look at how that changes the overall ranking here as we'll go to the overall after 3 heats in Springboard. Seibert takes over the top spot with 56 points, but Ebner and Martin still have to battle it out in their Springboard, and they have 51 and 45 points at the moment respectively. So unless they get DQ'd from Springboard, which is highly unlikely, there's going to be another change in the overall standings as we see the stage being rebuilt by our crew.
Aber ich wage mal die Prognose. So präzise, wie der Robert heute gearbeitet hat. Der ist unglaublich konzentriert, hat wirklich eben sehr, sehr viel über die Präzision gearbeitet, über die Geschwindigkeit, über die Frequenz. Ich glaube, der wird sich bei den Pockets sehr viel Mühe geben, wobei er das wirklich aus FF kann. Ich sag mal, der macht sogar vier Vierer und das wird mal sehr, sehr gut. Beziehungsweise ins Holz. Ich will jetzt nicht davon reden, dass das die vorentscheidende Disziplin ist, denn wir wissen, was bei der Hauptsache alles passieren kann. Maker or Breaker. Aber es kann muss aber auch kommen, dass
Okay, the last heat in Springboard, heat number 4. Danny Martin, personal best 104.87. Robert Ebner, look at his personal best, 48.58. Could he take a national record today? Yeah, we've seen a lot of records drop today, personal best, national records as well. And the way that Robert Ebner has been performing today, it's possible. Anything is possible. And he is highly focused today.
Ja, und das ist jetzt so eine Situation, da ist irgendetwas nicht weggeschnitten,
So Robert's got issue with the support tape around the bark of the trunk that they've set up for him. And I don't know if that's going to be an issue for him setting his pockets, but Jörg Kurzenberger taking a quick look at it.
Da muss er jetzt wegatmen. Also da kann er jetzt nicht sich irgendwie festbeißen in diese Situation. Ist er jetzt auch durch.
Okay. Danny Martin taking a couple of hops there just to get the willies out, as he knows he's up against a very strong competitor in this discipline. Here we go.
3, 2, 1, go!
Four-hit pocket for both of these guys, looking good. A quick clean sweep from Robert Ebner, but he's not happy with the first set. And now he gets up there onto his board, but Danny Martin is already starting to set his second pocket. Ebner's got to be fast with that second pocket. He's got 3 hits already. Is that going to be it? 4-5. Danny Martin's already putting his second board in. This is going to be a monumental battle between these two. Martin's up on his top board. Here comes Robert Ebner's second board. The angle looks good for him as he takes a quick look over to where Martin's at. And now he's going to start working on that top board. The angle on both of these guys' boards is excellent. They've got angle, they've got power, and they're both trusting the boards and stepping out into the back. Danny Martin's deep into that first side. Robert Ebner is now playing catch-up here, and Robert Ebner is not going to be happy with himself if he cannot beat Danny Martin in this one, as he's had such a fantastic day so far. Ebner still working on the first side. Danny Martin battling hard to try and get through that second side, grimacing heavily as he is trying to make those final cuts. 3 more drives for Martin, perhaps. And he took a little bit of a heavy swing there and it cost him. But Danny Martin 111.53. Oh, and Robert Ebner 111.90. How close was that? Holy smokes, folks. That was tight coming into that last couple of drives. Unbelievable. Gelsenkirchen. Have you ever seen anything like that? Twitch, DAZN, have you ever seen anything like that? Danny Martin pumped up. He has beaten the master of German springboard here. Amazing. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when they readjust the times and what that is going to mean for these two scores. So both cuts are good. Let's see, it's going to be a 1:10.97 and a 1:11.83. So Danny Martin currently sitting in second overall. Robert Ebner still on top in first. And Danny Martin actually won the springboard. Robert Ebner in second. Andreas Strieve in third. We'll take a look at those results shortly and then how that affected the overall results here. Let's take a look at the slow-mos first, though. So that first board was just a quick adjustment by Robert, and Danny Martin, you can see in the background, was already setting his second pocket. However, Robert got up there on that first board and set a very quick second pocket and got that board in place. But Danny Martin was already on top and starting to work. But both of these guys had really, really good boards, and you can see there as Robert steps right to the back of the board with his back foot, and here we get to see how close it was. One stroke difference between the two, and Danny Martin is like, yo, I got it? Yeah! Awesome. Big scream of relief more than anything from Danny Martin, and right there, that was risky. He went on to the backside and cut, so that he did cut from both sides, but decided he wanted to go back to the original side where the power was and do that final hit, and he almost fell off the board. And there you can see Robert Ebner, and just a stroke behind. And Danny Martin liking our cameraman and saying, yeah, I did it. All right, so there you go. Springboard is done and dusted. Danny Martin, Robert Ebner, Andreas Strieve, Lars Seibert, and Thomas Hofbauer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stefan Graf in 6. Auenhammer in 7. And then in the overall standings now, Robert Ebner 4 points ahead of Danny Martin with 65. Danny Martin 61. Lars Seibert 52. Strieve in 4th place with 42. Hofbauer and Stefan Graf in 5th and 6th with 35 and 34 respectively. So those top 6 guys will move on to the hot saw, and we'll take a look at that shift as we get the changeover shortly.
Was hier zwischen Danny Martin und für Robert Ebner auch ein Thriller in dieser Disziplin ist. Ja, auch im Splitscreen nochmal wunderbar zu sehen.
And here we go with the split screen, and this is where you get to see those pockets. Robert Ebner, he's got himself a 4-hit pocket. Danny Martin, I didn't count his pocket, but it wasn't that far off, but Ebner didn't like the position of his board, reset it a little bit deeper into the left side of the pocket, got up there, and then he was fairly quick to get his second pocket set, but Danny Martin did a couple of housekeeping moves right there and got himself that second board in position quickly. Now, watch the angle as Danny Martin gets up here. That board barely sagged. He had a perfect set on that board and was able to step right to the back of the board. Same with Robert Ebner, but Ebner was up just a little bit shy behind Danny Martin. Danny Martin had the lead going here. Now, Robert Ebner was very, very quick on that top block, and had he been a little bit quicker with that board setting, I'm pretty sure he would have beat Danny Martin, but Danny Martin was just a little bit ahead. Now, Danny Martin starts to hit on the backside, takes 3 or 4 hits on the backside, decides he doesn't like it there anymore. He's hit from the backside. He doesn't need to stay back there. As long as you cut from both sides, it's fair. Now here, he slips through that one and then finally drops the block and cutting from the front side again. So a great job by Danny Martin, and Robert Ebner. He knows he's got a good time, but he is a competitor and he wanted to win that one.
Also da war eine klare Ansage auch wieder zu sehen, ne?
Ansage in die eine Richtung, Antwort auf die andere. Und das zieht sich durch den ganzen Wettkampftag schon. Super, macht
also
Spaß.
die zwei werden heute auf der Bühne keine Freunde mehr, das ist auch klar. Ne? Das ist ein
Sind
Duell,
aber keine Sorge.
Spannender, als wir uns das, glaube ich, vorher auch so erwartet haben. Müssen wir auch ganz ehrlich sein. Wir wussten alle nicht, was Robert drauf hat.
Genau, ja.
Aber das war jetzt schon Wahnsinn. Ja? Und jetzt kommt es zur entscheidenden Disziplin, an der dann jetzt nur noch 6 Athleten teilnehmen. Wir werden gleich auch noch mal zeigen, welche 6 Athleten das sind. Und 2 müssen leider ausscheiden nach dieser zweiten Runde. Aber jetzt erst noch einmal ein bisschen das, was diese letzte Disziplin ausmacht. Maker.
This is the one and only discipline where the athletes are alone on stage.
Yeah, probably the most important event, but yeah, also the most frustrating.
These saws are so incredibly powerful and dangerous.
Usually the hot saw is the decider.
Timber.
Hot saw, hot saw.
Like I can't describe to you when we're out there under pressure.
Saw starts well, first disc looks solid, cut is good.
You know, you're always ending the competition on a hot saw, so you know where you're going to be at when you finish. So you're either at a real big high or just is what it is.
Nice clean cuts, easy, relaxed.
Der Hot Saw ist für mich die geilste Disziplin der Welt.
5, 6, 8, Robert Ebner, 3 on the deck.
Hot saw is a love-hate for me. I honestly don't get that much enjoyment out of it. I'm not a motorhead. I swallow my pills and eat it.
Once the competition comes, anything can happen. Oh no, a false start by Sterling Hart. What a disaster.
Yeah, it was a disappointment for me. Happens though, it's part of competing.
I saw there's 3 good discs there, but then let that nose come right up underneath the crossover the line.
Unfortunately, a disqualification.
It all relies on the hot saw.
Oh no.
Irgendwie soll es einfach nicht sein. Und dann springt die Hot Saw nicht an, wieder mal.
Oh man, that is a bummer for Robert Ebner.
What are you taking away from this event?
Oh, probably last place. I don't know, headache. Yeah, shit hot saw. What else do you want?
If you have bad luck or if you did wrong, it's part, just your experience.
Oh my goodness, what an absolute disaster. The chain came off.
I was not disappointed because everybody see that I can be with the guys in front.
It's a bit of a disaster, so it was just operator error, and I didn't perform as well as I would have liked to.
Nice safe cut.
Oh no! Oh no!
Never prepared for that situation, but luckily it started and I got 3 wheels and now I'm the world champion.
Yeah, it's the make or break event, you know.
I think you love and you hate it.
Das ist eigentlich immer ein geiles Ding. Ich schneide immer sehr sicher.
Weltrekord wollte ich schneiden, das war immer mein Ziel schon seit Jahren. Und das jetzt hier bei der DM zu machen, natürlich so grandios, kann man eigentlich gar nicht besser schreiben, das Buch. Und bin natürlich super glücklich.
Try to make 3 good cuts and no disqualification.
The hot saw is where it's all won, so that's the best event.
Entweder es gibt einen Weg oder du machst einen. Deine Zeit ist jetzt. THW.
Die Hot Saw, das ist die Disziplin, die, ich glaube, auch neben der Springboard-Disziplin als die Königsdisziplin zu beschreiben ist. Was für Dramen, ne?
Hot Saw. Also es sagt einfach alles. Ich glaube, der Trailer oder dieser Zusammenschnitt hat euch aus den vergangenen Jahren die ganzen Dramen, den ganzen Spaß, die ganze Energie, die in dieser Disziplin drin liegt, wunderbar transportiert. Heißt für euch auch, jetzt ist nochmal alles möglich.
Ja.
All right, taking a look at how this all breaks down. Round 2, single buck and springboard, and you can see how it changes the overall standings, and that means Graf, Hofbauer, Strieve, Seibert, Martin, and Ebner are moving on to the final round, round 3, and hot saw. And as you saw from that clip earlier on, the hot saw really is the maker or breaker discipline. You can lose it all or you can win it all in this discipline. And our starting order for hot saw, it's only 3 heats. And something new that has happened since the middle of 2019 is that we have head-to-head hot saw battles on stage. So there will be 2 athletes on stage in a heat. Stand A and B will each have a hot saw athlete on board, and you'll see 2 hot saws being loud on stage at the same time. We see Robert Ebner with his saw, making sure it starts clean and runs perfectly. And these guys have a clearly intimate relationship with these tools. They know every aspect of them. They wrench on them. They make sure they have the right chain, the sharpening of the chain teeth, the blade shape, the saw, the motor itself. Everything is customized about these. Even the gasoline in some cases. Danny Martin was telling us one time that he's got a special gasoline for his saw. So it's going to be very interesting to see how heat number 3 breaks down between Danny Martin and Robert Ebner. Now you saw in that clip from earlier on, Robert Ebner's saw didn't start, but he has since become very adept at making sure that those saws are absolutely on point. So Robert Ebner at the moment is the man to beat, but Danny Martin can do it. It's still a chance. And let's take a look at this tool, the hot saw.
These custom handmade race-tuned machines are built for maximum power and precision and to cut the wood as fast as possible in a competition.
Single cylinder.
They are built with a 60 to 80 horsepower single-cylinder two-stroke engine, often taken from a snowmobile or high-powered motorbike.
In excess of 30
the hot saw can weigh up to 30 kilograms and its chain rotates at over
7,000 euros. Some of them costing even more. And these are very finicky devices. If you treat them even remotely poorly, and that thing will not start for you. And that has been one of the key issues for all of these guys. And what they have to do is control this beast of a saw and cut 3 discs out of a 15-centimeter section of that block. And that is the big deal. 3 complete cookies on the floor means you are good to go. If you cut out or cut over the line, then you are done for. Your time doesn't count because it's a DQ. And then you can see the world record there, held by Dirk Braun. He got that at the German Championship in 2016 in Winterberg, his hometown, 5:20. That is going to be a tough one to break. But the season's best so far, 5:59. Not really far off. Today, maybe, maybe not. But there are our 3 heats. Stefan Graf will go up against Thomas Hofbauer, Andreas Striever against Lars Seibert, and Danny Martin again up against Robert Ebner.
Das ist nicht ausgeschlossen. Wir haben schon Dramen erlebt und auch, das darf man jetzt sagen, wo er es nicht hört, Robert Ebner hat in den letzten Wochen und Monaten ein bisschen Probleme mit seiner Hotsaw gehabt. Ist das eine oder andere Mal nicht angesprungen, auch das kann passieren. Also, wir wollen es nicht beschreien, im Gegenteil.
Faden so ein bisschen durch seine Karriere.
Wir wollen es nicht beschreien. Wir wünschen ihm von Herzen, dass das alles gut geht und wir einen spannenden Wettkampf erleben.
Es ist ja so, er denkt ja auch dran, ja? Uns kommt es jetzt.
All right, there you go. Stefan Graf, personal best for him, 7.84. Thomas Hofbauer, 8.74. Interesting numbers there. So these 2 guys will be on stage together. Now, again, it's not about beating one or the other guy here that you're on stage with. It's about getting the fastest time possible. But what's an interesting factor about if you're on stage alone, you're battling against yourself. If you're on stage with another guy, yeah, of course you're battling against yourself and trying to get the fastest time. But you also have that extra bit of motivation and adrenaline knowing that you are on stage with another guy. And there we see Stefan Graf. There was a little bit of confusion as to whose saw is whose there, but now it seems like we've got it settled, and these guys will get themselves set. Now, what's really important here is the safety equipment. These guys have specially designed pants on that have Kevlar shins, so that it's a bit like cowboy chaps. You know, they want to make sure that they're protected from any flying parts. If a chain flies off of that saw, that could be a disaster. It's also important that they have those safety glasses and ear protection on. If anybody comes out on the stage without any of these bits of protection, that is automatically called a disqualification if they start the saw and make a cut like that. So there's a lot of things these guys need to think about during this particular set. This is also a, let's call it a warm start. They will be allowed to start that saw, blow out any of the carbon or sediment that gets stuck in there. Make sure that the saw is warm enough so that when they do start it from stopped, that it will hopefully start as planned.
Warm up your saw.
So that's what you're hearing now. Warm up your saw. guys know their saw is in and out, so they will make sure that their saw is warmed to a certain point but not overheated. And we have a problem with Thomas Hochbauer. Oh, his saw chain has come loose from the blade. So that's something that's going to need to be taken care of right away. You don't want that thing wobbling around when you're trying to cut through the wood.
Die Zeit läuft. Muss das in dieser Zeit jetzt geregelt haben.
All right, so Jörg Kurzenberger is telling him that he needs to continue. That means he needs to be really wary of his cuts there, that that chain doesn't slop around too much.
Ready. Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go.
Drop his third cookie with a 9.54. So not the time that he really wanted. He had a cutout at the start, and Hochbauer didn't make the cut. Now, if this was a suggestion by Jörg Kurzenberger, I'm not sure, but obviously he didn't feel safe to make those cuts with that saw the way the chain was swinging down below the blade. And it looks like we might have a cut line here at the bottom of that. Both judges will take a check on that. And at the moment, Hochbauer is going to reset that saw blade so that it's a bit tighter and the chain is a bit tighter. And hopefully there's no cutout or cut over the line for Stefan Graf here, which would mean a DQ. But from this perspective here, it looks okay.
Das ist dann schon zu viel des Guten. Ja, darf jetzt nochmal nachschneiden. Sieht fast so aus, als wenn sie ihm erlauben, nochmal nachzuschneiden jetzt. Das ist dann natürlich auch eine gute
Okay, also Steffen, your cut was good. Thomas, wir machen mit dir jetzt noch einen Heat, wenn das in Ordnung ist. Ja, also wunderbar.
Okay, so it's just been confirmed. Stefan Graf's cut was good, so that time of 9.40 will count. They are going to allow Thomas Hochbauer to cut again on my screen. It does say DQ, but he did make the call before the actual competition cut happened. So because of that, the judges are allowing him to do this cut on his own on stage. So this is a very fair thing that they've done. And it looks like he's made the adjustment on that chain to make sure that it's tight to the blade. So now it's about him trying to get that saw warmed up again and get a clean cut. You can see the occasional spark coming out there as well. Just crazy, these machines. Quick check on that blade. Thing is, you don't want that blade to be too tight, because if it's too tight, it could bind on that harvester blade. Or the chain could bind on that harvester blade, because it's got a very tight wrap around the tip there and into the motor on the tooth. Right there is the safety line for the pull start, and now Hochbauer will get a chance to make his cuts.
Der Sonderversuch, so möchte man ihn fast auch für Thomas Hochbauer.
Athlete, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, a cutout. He needs to cut another one after the third cut there. And that is going to be tough for him. Here we go. That's going to kill his time a little bit. And a 12.42 for Thomas Hochbauer, as that first cut was thin to win, but he did have a cutout. And they are checking to make sure that the cuts are good, and it looks like they're going to give him a thumbs up.
Okay, Steffen, wenn du nochmal da stehst. Also herzlichen Glückwunsch, dein Cut war natürlich gut und Thomas sehr gut reagiert. Your cut was also good.
Okay, so there you go. Both cuts are good. So our first hot saws are done and dusted with a little bit of a hiccup in the middle, but all things being equal, Thomas Hochbauer has his time, And a 12:36 he won't be entirely happy with, but he's got his cuts done, and it's no DQ, so that's a very important aspect for him. So they'll reset these blocks to make sure they're square and marked properly for our next athletes, which will be Lars Seibert and Danny Martin. You can see there on that first cut that Cookie was cut out completely, so he needed to go back up top after his final cut and redo another cut to make sure that he had 3 cookies on the floor. So Strive and Seibert, excuse me, will go up against each other. They shifted it around a little bit in the start order on our timing screen because Thomas Hoffbauer moves down to the bottom of the list, but as he did get to redo his heat, we will see now it will be Andreas Strive and Lars Seibert going up against each other.
Aufholen, also einen Platz dazwischen mindestens haben. Das wird spannend zu erleben sein gleich.
Wobei jetzt natürlich schon klar ist, die zwei, die wir jetzt gerade eben gesehen haben, die werden nicht mehr zwischen den beiden landen. Ne? Also es sind im Prinzip jetzt nur noch 2 Konkurrenten, die jetzt eben in diesem zweiten Heat aufeinandertreffen, nämlich Andreas Strive und Lars Seibert, die jetzt für den Danny wichtige Arbeit leisten können.
Die müssen, für Danny Marr müssen die gut sein.
Ja.
Das wäre jetzt sehr hilfreich, wenn die beiden schnell sind. Und das ist von Danny Marr muss immer schneller sein. Und einer der beiden sollte dann würde es aus Sicht von Danny Marr noch gehen. Es ist
Okay, Andreas Strive and Lars Seibert on stage. Lars Seibert is quite strong in this discipline, but Andreas Strive has a personal best of 7.40, so that is nothing to shake a chicken at. Also a quite good time. You can see Lars Seibert there. He has a different blade on his saw. If we get a look at it from the front side, he's got quite a wide high blade. Now you can see there's the harvester blade with the chain on it, and Lars Seibert on the other end, I do believe, has this very fat, there you can see, this very fat blade. Now, in my opinion, those tend to cut a little bit cleaner. Oh, but Seibert, his saw did not start on the first pull, so he has time now to get that wrapped around and try and restart it. Meanwhile, Andreas Strive saw his, and there we go. Lars Seibert has his going. You can see the 2 different points of blades here that hold the chain in place. Look at that jump as he pulls the trigger, rev it up. Unbelievable power in these machines.
Jetzt hätte ich vor allem gerne mal vor dem Fernseher gesessen und abgewartet, ob man dich überhaupt gehört hat.
Ja, ich hab's gerade gesagt, ob man mich überhaupt noch hört. Also hier für uns selber ist es schwer, unsere eigenen Stimmen zu hören, obwohl wir die Kopfhörer aufhaben. So laut ist das.
Andreas Strive, Lars Seibert. Lars Seibert stronger in this discipline. Let's see if he can hold on to that. Let's hope his saw starts. Both of them.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, yes, Lars Seibert with a good time of 7.13 and 9.75 for Andreas Strive. So 7.13 for Lars Seibert, not a personal best, but that will put him atop the hot sauce standings for the moment.
So, das allerletzte Risiko, die allerletzte Rille war da nicht drin, weil er natürlich auch weiß, dass Danny Marr jetzt volles Risiko gehen muss. Und dadurch wird auch...
All right, so Lars Seibert with that will move up into the top of the standings. So there you go, Lars Seibert at the moment at the top of the standings. So if in fact Robert Ebner and Danny Martin both have a DQ, there is a slim chance that Lars Seibert could win this German championship. But that is an ever so slim chance as we take a look at Lars's cuts here. Really nice first cut, thin to win on the second cut, and well targeted, thin to win on the third cut as well. Very, very, very solid. 3 cookies on the floor as he takes a quick look to make sure that everything is solid. Both of them took a little bit of a pause, aiming on the setting for those first cuts. You can see by Stefan Graf, or Andreas Strieve, excuse me, his cookies were quite wide. All right, so we've got a couple of good cuts so far and no DQs, which is very, very important, and that means Danny Martin and Robert Ebner will be up next. So basically what has to happen here is Danny Martin has to have a blistering fast time, and Robert Ebner needs to be down below the 7-8 second mark. Let's see if he can do it. He needs to actually be below 9.96 in order for Danny Martin to win this thing. The pressure is on for these two guys, and there is Lars Seibert in the hot seat for the moment as our leader in the overall standings. And there's his fan club. It's like a clone club. They all look the same. All right, so hot saw heat number 3. Danny Martin, Robert Ebner. Look at their times. Very, very close. As we know, Robert Ebner had a love-hate and then began to love it. And you saw in the clip earlier on, it's about getting that saw started, and how concentrated is he coming out onto the stage.
Champion 19, Champion 20, das Triple möglich, aber nur wenn ihn jetzt schlägt.
Robert Ebner, 6-time German champion. He's got pedigree here. Danny Martin hasn't been beaten since 2019. Could he have the hat trick and take 3 in a row? It's going to come down to this hot saw. They're so close, only 4 points between the two of them. So if Danny Martin is faster than 9.96 and faster than Robert Ebner, then he will take the win. But Robert Ebner can take it away. He's got 65 points in the overall standings. Danny Martin has 61.
Dann auch noch mal dazu. Bart Jansen ist ebenfalls mit dabei.
Just a bolt situation here for Danny Martin. He's got to make sure that it's tightened up and solid. That is not a bolt that you want to have loose. That is one of the blocks that holds that chain taut on the blade. And so if that is loose, that chain can start to flop around on the blade. And that is something you definitely don't want to have. We saw that in the clip with Martin Kormarek when his chain came off the saw completely and he tried to fix it, just went over time and was a DQ. But so far looks okay for Danny Martin and for Robert Ebner as well. Robert Ebner opting not to pull the trigger on that saw too many times, if at all. Danny Martin, on the other hand, giving it a couple of revs to make sure that that thing is proper warmed up. I lifted Danny Martin's saw up a few months ago. That thing is heavy. A good 35 kilos. I can't even imagine what it would be like to lift that thing up while it's shaking and rattling and then trying to aim it. As these two guys get ready to go, a couple of giants in the German timber sports industry and two fantastic guys. Let's see who can take this one home today. Here we go. Last heat of the day. This will determine it.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, great start for both of these guys. Look at how quick it's going for Robert Ebner. Oh my God! Robert Ebner with a 4.98. He's got a world record. Holy smokes, folks! Oh my God! Woo!
4,98, der erste unter 5 Sekunden. Das ist ja Wahnsinn!
It has to be officiated first. But if that happens, that will be an unbelievable moment. Oh my God. Is it official? Is it official?
los, Mensch! Wahnsinn.
Okay. Danny, your cut was very good. Robert Ebner, Weltrekord.
Unfassbar!
Oh, wow.
Für ein Weltrekord. 4,87.
Danny Martin with a personal best at 5:32. And Robert Ebner takes the world record. Unbelievable. He's in tears. He's in tears. Ha! Wow. Big congratulations to Robert Ebner. Fantastic.
Ist das geil. 4,87.
Ich wollte es vorhin nicht sagen, Guido, aber ich habe gesagt, eigentlich fehlt nur noch eins. Es fehlt noch ein Weltrekord am heutigen Tag. Und das können wir gleich nochmal analysieren. Er hat im Training schon unter 5 Sekunden gesägt. Aber jetzt hat er es tatsächlich auch mal in einem offiziellen Wettbewerb geschafft. Und wir
I am speechless. Robert Ebner with a 4.87, a world record. And you know he's going to dedicate this one to somebody special.
Ebner, der neue deutsche Meister von STIHL Timbersports mit einem neuen Weltrekord. 7-mal hat er den Titel geholt. Robert, was geht nach diesem Schnitt an Hotzo gerade in deinem Kopf vor?
Ja, boah, ganz kurz, Entschuldigung. Also viele haben an die Säge nicht geglaubt. Ich habe immer dran geglaubt. Und an die Familie Bläsi. Und ich wollte es einfach zeigen, dass der Jörg Bläsi und seine Familie viel Arbeit drin reingesteckt haben und mir das ermöglicht haben. Für mich ist es echt schwer jetzt gerade zu reden. Also ich habe die ganze Zeit Spannung angehalten. Ich wollte das Ding heimbringen. Ich wollte Weltrekord schneiden. Und ich danke meiner Familie zu Hause, die hier jetzt bestimmt vor dem Fernseher sitzen, die mir jeden Tag Kraft geben. Und alle, die mich unterstützt haben. Ja, ich war lange Zeit verletzt, ich konnte nicht viel trainieren. Es ging eigentlich jetzt nur mental. Und ich merke einfach, 15, 16 Jahre, der Sport, der hängt einfach hinterher. Ich bin jetzt 36 und ich bin echt froh, meinen 7. deutschen Titel hier zu gewinnen. Und der Publikum, vielen, vielen Dank für alles. Ihr seid echt super.
Wir lassen das so stehen, Robert, oder? Also, Gelsenkirchen, der 7-fache deutsche Meister und Weltrekordhalter
Oh my goodness, Robert Ebner with a fantastic final cut in the hot saw, and that was all she wrote. Robert Ebner with a 4.87 takes the world record in fine fashion. Absolutely fantastic. And with that, he is also the new German champion. Let's take a look back at this heat again. Absolutely flowed through this one. No pauses at all, just fantastic cuts, 3 perfect cookies. He threw that one away, took a quick look up at the clock, and it was only after it was confirmed by our judges that everything was good that we can really say that it was a world record. Absolutely fantastic cut, but he stayed calm right to the last second until it was confirmed. Hey, Danny Martin, what an absolute legend, a battler to the very end. A new personal best for him with a 5:32. These times are getting quicker and quicker. Wow, what a reaction. And there you go. There's the smile and all of that emotion just flowing out of Robert Ebner. I said it was going to happen from the very get-go, but I didn't think it was going to be tears. I thought it would be laughing, but yeah, tears of joy right there from Robert Ebner. Big congratulations to him. Danny Martin, unfortunately, no gold medal and no three-peat, but he's got himself a silver medal here. And Lars Seibert, still one of the best German timber sports athletes, gets the 3rd place. And one more time, look how close this was. But Robert Ebner was just absolutely on fire today, flowing from one event to the other. Danny Martin knew he had a good time, but he didn't know that Robert Ebner was the world record holder now. Unbelievable. What a final in hot saw.
Also das fasst einen an, wie der komplette Wecker.
Ganz kurz, wir haben völlig vergessen zu erwähnen, dass Danny Martin auch persönliche Bestzeit gelegt hat. Ja, er hat persönliche Bestzeit geschnitten, die hat er erst vor 4 Wochen in Meldrichstadt auf 5,59 gesteigert. Jetzt ist er bei 5,32 gelandet. Und ich glaube, das hat er erst mal gesehen. und freut sich und dann dreht er sich um und denkt, was ist denn da jetzt passiert? Da steht eine 4 vorne.
Erster Mensch unter 5 Sekunden an der Hotsaw mit dieser Fabelzeit, du hast es gerade richtigerweise erwähnt, von 4,87. Und ich glaube auch an dieser Stelle vielleicht nochmal der Blick nach oben, wenn es der Dirk einem gönnt, dann ist es der Robert. Die beiden haben sich auch lange gebettelt. Er hat trotzdem in dem Robert immer noch Tipps dazu gegeben, Danny auch. So war Dirk Braun und ich glaube, wenn er es einem gönnt, dann ist es an der Stelle Robert Ebner und du hast völlig recht, Robert wird genau daran jetzt auch gerade denken. Der Weltrekordhalter Dirk Braun ist ja leider gestorben, falls ihr jetzt erst eingeschaltet habt im vergangenen Februar. Und Robert Ebner mit diesem neuen, unfassbar guten Weltrekord von 4,87.
Und nicht nur in dieser Disziplin ist er jetzt an der Spitzenposition, da sogar weltweit, sondern auch europaweit ist er mit dem heutigen Wettkampf an der Spitze. Wir hatten ja vorhin schon darüber gesprochen, es geht ja auch um die Qualifikation für die Weltmeisterschaft Anfang Oktober in München. Und da werden 8 Europäer ausgesandt und da haben wir dieses
So, taking a look at the European ranking, and that means you're going to see these guys competing against each other in the World Championship in Munich in October. And Ebner, Robert Ebner, who just won the national championship here today, will be among those top athletes from around Europe.
Und ich sage einfach mal, wir werden keine 8 mehr an ihm vorbeiziehen, denn 8 Europäer werden dann an der WM teilnehmen, plus 4 Athleten aus den Überseestaaten. Also ich glaube, hier haben wir auf jeden Fall heute den WM-Teilnehmer für Deutschland gesehen, der, glaube ich, auch mit dieser Verfassung nicht chancenlos ist.
Wenn du diesen Wettkampf nochmal bei der WM hinkriegst, auf diesem Niveau, er hat ja gerade auch sehr schön gesagt, ich habe versucht, die ganze Zeit den Tunnel zu halten. Man hat es ihm angemerkt, wir haben es gesehen, das ist ein veränderter Robert Ebner, der will ja heute was zeigen. Ja. Vom ersten Wettkampf her voll im Tunnel, super konzentriert. Wenn er das bei der WM schafft, noch einmal so. Es hat viel Kraft gekostet, musste gerade alles raus, hat auch ein paar Tränchen verdrückt, hochsympathisch, völlig verständlich. Und wenn er das nochmal so hinkriegt, um den Satz dann endlich zu Ende zu bringen, dann glaube ich tatsächlich, hat er auch bei der Weltmeisterschaft zumindest die Chance, ums Podium mitzufighten. Und das wäre doch mal toll, wenn wir mal wieder einen Deutschen hätten, der ganz oben dran kratzt. Also 2010, das Niveau ist da.
2010 war er ja schon Zweiter, Silber geholt. Also er weiß schon, wie diese Medaillen bei den Weltmeisterschaften riechen und wie sie sich anfühlen.
Boah, jetzt müssen wir, glaube ich... 2010, du hast gesagt, das vielleicht auch nochmal, 2010, wie lange der Bursche jetzt schon auf Top-Niveau unterwegs ist. Ja?
Da war er 25 damals, ne?
Hat er gerade auch gesagt, so lange dieser Wettkampf, das zehrt, ja, und jetzt ist er wieder deutscher Meister zum 7. Mal. Also er ist, ich glaube, man kann sagen, so stark wie nie. Ja, auch mental, ja, so mit 25, als er so Anfang 20 war, hat er Phasen drin gehabt, wo er ganz schön wackelig war manchmal. So gut wie heute habe ich ihn noch nie gesehen. Robert Ebner, bärenstark.
Und ich glaube, wir müssten das nochmal zusammenschauen, jetzt auch was anhand der Zeiten dann für ihn rauskommt. Ich glaube, es war wahrscheinlich auch einer seiner Top 3 Wettkämpfe heute. Ne? Vielleicht sogar der schnellste, besser. Kann ich mich kaum erinnern, dass er mal so einen Wettkampf hingelegt hat. Und er hat damit natürlich alles in den Schatten gestellt.
All right, a quick look at the final results here. And of course, you know, Robert Ebner winning the underhand chop, second in the stock saw, standing block chop. He won that one. Single buck, again, winning that one. And springboard coming in second place there. And then, of course, the top position in the hot saw for a total of 83 points. That is an unbelievable score. And as the guys were just talking about there, you probably just saw one of the absolute best contest runs and results by Robert Ebner ever in his long history of competing in STIHL timber sports. Now, 7-time German champion and an absolute monster final in the hot saw with a new world record. Just fantastic. And let's get down onto the stage and have a look at our awards ceremony.
Und wir sind also bereit für die Plätze 10 bis 4 der STIHL TIMBERSPORTS Deutschen Meisterschaft. Gelsenkirchen, ein riesiger Applaus bitte für Christoph Lang.
So we're going to bring out our 10th through 4th. It's Christoph Lang, Ralf Dengler, Stefan Stark, Andreas Auenhammer, Thomas Hofbauer, Stefan Graf, and Andreas Striever. They are positions 10 through 4, and they will come on stage and occupy the space back there as we get ready to do the awards ceremony for our top 3 guys, bronze, silver, and gold.
Wirklich alles gegeben für euch. Und ich finde, das breiteste Grinsen, das hat wirklich der Thomas Hofbauer auf den Lippen. Aber auch Herr Auernhammer sieht nicht unzufrieden aus.
All right, so let's bring out our 3rd place athlete with a score of 64 points, Lars Seibert. Once again, this man has come onto the podium, this time in the bronze medal position. He stays among the top German athletes in STIHL TIMBERSPORTS. He's one of those guys that is just so consistent and so stable and so steady. And he's got a great fan club in the audience today, supporting his every move out there. He takes 3rd place and the bronze medal here for the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS German Championship 2021.
Leiter Marketing von STIHL. Ja, das ist ein schwerer Pokal.
So just a little trophy for 3rd place. That'll keep him strong if he's holding that up all day long. All right, now moving on to 2nd place. Danny Martin from Germany bringing out 76 points onto this stage, takes the silver medal. You know he wanted to have the 3-peat, but he'll be back. You know he will. He's still young. He's strong. You know he's got the pedigree for continual wins. Since 2019, he has been steady and strong, winning it in 19 and 20. This year, he takes the silver medal as he runs the gauntlet to give congratulations and thanks to all the guys that are there. And, of course, a big hug to his buddy Lars Seibert. Danny Martin, silver medal in 2nd place here today, with his fan club also in the house and making lots of noise. You heard them screaming all day long, hands on the wood. Well, a great job by Danny Martin for 2nd place here today.
Der deutsche Vizemeister 2021, Danny Martin. Und er ist nicht nur deutscher Meister, er ist auch Best Ex und Best Songman. Was für eine Leistung mit Weltrekord.
All right, so with a new world record and one of the most impressive and best performances in his career, the new German champion, Robert Ebner, absolutely fantastic today. And that guy was incredibly emotional at the end, as were we all. What a way to go out with a win today, and he will represent Germany at the individual world championships in October, and we will naturally be crossing our fingers for him. What a fantastic battle between these guys today. Robert Ebner, your new gold medalist and German champion for STIHL TIMBERSPORTS 2021.
Der neue deutsche Meister und damit 7-fache deutsche Meister von STIHL TIMBERSPORTS. Hier bekommt er seinen Pokal. Wir rasten aus für Robert Ebner!
And there's a picture for you. 3 absolute champions, really. Fantastic job by Robert Ebner. And there's the smile we were hoping to see from him earlier on, but now he can let it out. Fantastic. Great job by Robert Ebner. Big congratulations to him. And, of course, Danny Martin, Lars Seibert, and the rest of the guys as they enjoy the champagne shower on the stage. And they will definitely enjoy the rest of their time this evening as champions and competitors in one of the original, if not the original, extreme sport. We hope you guys enjoyed the show today, watching on DAZN or the English feed on Twitch. Until next time, everybody, I'm Troy Mannering signing out from Gelsenkirchen in Germany and the amphitheater and a fantastic German championship. Big congratulations to everybody here, and I am out. Till next time, take care and ciao.
Ich glaube, wir starten mal den Versuch eines Resümees. Über diesen Wettkampf könnten wir jetzt, glaube ich, noch eine halbe Stunde philosophieren und sprechen. Was wir heute für Leistungen gesehen haben von den einzelnen Athleten, ist überragend gewesen. Es ging schon direkt los mit unglaublich vielen Bestleistungen und 2, beziehungsweise am Ende sogar 3 deutschen Rekorden an der Stocksaw. Also 2 Verbesserungen waren es, ja. Aber was war denn da los heute, Guido? Also,
alles dabei. Also, es war ein unglaublicher Hunger, zu zeigen, was man kann, glaube ich. Nach so langer Durststrecke auch dem Publikum live vor Ort wieder zu zeigen, was man drauf hat. Wir haben absolute Weltklasse-Leistung gesehen mit einem Weltrekord von Robert Ebner. Ein Athlet, der sich heute auf einem Niveau präsentiert hat, das auch international sicherlich registriert wird. Es wird klar sein, dass da alle hingeguckt haben, was der Robert heute gemacht hat. Sie werden ihn voll auf der Liste haben. Ein solcher Wettkampf noch einmal, wir haben gerade ein bisschen drüber gesprochen, wenn er den auch bei der WM hinkriegt, dann ist er ein Kandidat, ganz vorne mit dabei sein zu können. Und ja, darauf freuen wir uns jetzt natürlich. Das wird neben vielen anderen Streams natürlich auch weiter zu sehen sein. Und ich muss sagen, es hat unfassbar Bock gemacht, auch mit dir. Ja. Vielen Dank. Ja.
Kann ich nur so zurückgeben, Guido.
Und dann sehen wir uns hoffentlich bald wieder und noch ein paar Bilder, glaube ich, für euch zum Zurücklehnen.
Nicht ohne den Hinweis, dass wir am 2. Oktober, wenn die Weltmeisterschaften dann in München aller Voraussicht nach mit Robert Ebner stattfinden werden, natürlich auch das Ganze wieder im Stream haben werden. Also ihr könnt euch dann einfach wieder mit einloggen und hier auf stihltimbersports.de alles verfolgen. Euch erst nochmal ein wunderschönes Restwochenende und mit den Highlights des heutigen Tages verabschieden wir uns von einem Wettkampf, der in verschiedenen Formen mit Sicherheit im Gedächtnis bleiben wird. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und bis bald. Ciao.
Bis bald, macht's gut.